So here we are once again in the delicious world.
In the corridor world that we call Final Fantasy XIII Hallway Simulator, as everyone on GameFAQs since the time this game was released has called it.
And let me tell you, I will never replace Lightning as the leader of the party. I don't care if I can or not.
Goddamn right. I was ready to, and then I got extremely, extremely nervous about having to change and be like, oh, now I need to figure out how to use Saz effectively, and I will not, so I'm going back to Lightning.
I will not do it. I will not learn how to use Saz effectively.
I was like, haste is always super broken in Final Fantasy games. Having that ability would be great to be able to use. And I was like, nope, not going to use Saz at all. But if you haven't guessed by now, this is the Every FNFF podcast. I'm Carl Durham.
I'm Curtis.
I'm Alex, and with us as once...
I'm Steven.
We finally done it.
The Daycare Dittos.
We're getting closer to having every member of the Daycare Dittos on. I think the only one left is Sarah, who I don't think has played any Final Fantasy games. So
we'll just have to... I was going to say, we'll have to tell her what we're going to play next, which obviously is Final Fantasy. Alex, blank this out for a joke. Thank you.
Final Fantasy XI.
That's right. I downloaded Final Fantasy XI not that long ago and started playing it, and it's just a lot is the thing. I don't think it's bad. I think it's pretty good. But after like hours of playing it, I was like, oh, I've not done nothing in this game. I don't have that kind of time.
I gave up within the first hour because I picked White Mage, and somebody told me that in order to level up, I had to actually go out and hit stuff with my staff first. And I was like, nah, this is bullshit. I'm here to heal, and that's it.
Shoutouts to Casey in our Discord, who is a big Final Fantasy XI head. And one of my fiance's friends from way back in the day where they played a MMO style game back on the old internet when things were much better.
And neighbor.
Of the pod.
Small world.
We found that out because we were posting pictures of cats, and Casey was like, wait, that cat looks very familiar. Which block do you live on in Philly? And found out some people were like literally next door neighbors with Alex.
So you already kind of told us before we started recording today, but why don't you tell us a little breakdown with your history with Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy XIII, Steve?
Oh yeah, sure. So my first ever Final Fantasy was actually Final Fantasy X. We got a PS2, and that was the first thing that came with it. We were super excited, and we probably played the first 10 minutes 20 times because we could not figure out how memory cards worked.
Tale as old as time.
So
you just have to beat it in one go like speedrunners do today.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so like the first 10 minutes in the butt rock is just like implanted in my memory forever. But after that, we ended up getting a copy of Final Fantasy VII from Kmart. I thought it was a bootleg copy because it had like the black disc. No. And I was like, that's not what CDs look like.
Yeah, when did they start going back to like mirrored? I forget. There was a period when like the PS1 was doing black discs.
Yeah, we were just like not used to it at all because we only ever had like SNES, N64, like cartridge based stuff. Right, so seeing like a CD with a black background, I was like, Kmart probably got this bootleg or something. I don't know. Final Fantasy also just seemed like really difficult to get a hold of at the time, at least for me. Like I just could not figure out where to get Final Fantasy games. So like a lot of the games exist almost as like just a vision in my head of like scenes I saw from AMVs or like, I don't know, just like random Newgrounds videos that would have sprites. I was just like, what are these things? Like, how do I play those games?
A cool GeoCities page that has cool sprite work of like Squall or something.
Yeah, exactly. But then I ended up getting 10-2, which is like one of my favorites. Love 10-2.
Hell yeah.
I got 9. And I don't know how I made it through that game, but I did. And then right before I beat it, my brother saved over my save file.
No!
Yep.
This is a call out to Peter.
That's right.
How dare you?
I think this was the moment where we were like separate memory cards from now on. Like we can't share memory.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
makes
not
complete
possible.
sense.
Mhm.
So basically, like I played a couple of Final Fantasies here or there, but like after not really jiving with 12, like 13, I was like super excited for. So, like I sent Carl the 2006 trailer. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it before.
Is it the E3 one?
Yeah, it looks like
we did watch that very early on.
Different game. Like it looked
I remember
completely action based.
The UI is very large and chunky in the.
It was very much a proof of concept trailer. Like they did not actually like have a running engine working yet. I think at the time. This is what it's going to look like. Here's what we're shooting for. Like the UI, like it's just hinting at like.
But I was also like 13 years old, and I did not understand like this idea of like in-game graphics versus like cutscene graphics, and so I was like, I saw that, and I was like, this is what the game is going to be like. And then when it came out, I was like, ooh, it's just a little bit disappointing. But I have to say, like, there was something about it that still like captured my heart. Like I really, really did enjoy playing Final Fantasy 13, but I played it like all wrong. Like I played it so incredibly wrong. So I kind of, as soon as I heard that you guys were playing Final Fantasy 13 next, I was like, I gotta hop on because I'm here to just like give my second opinion. Like I'm not like a speedrunner by any means. Like I don't know like the best strats. But
like, you hang out with us long enough and you will be.
Well, I've been listening to the podcast. I've been playing the game completely differently. Like I was like, you know why I didn't like this game the first time? Is because I spent 90% of my battles just in diversity, just making sure everybody was at full health. Because I was like, you know how I don't lose is I stay healthy. But then you play for 20 minutes every battle.
Macho Man told me eat my vitamins and pray.
Exactly. But you just like sit in every battle, like mashing like the A button, doing auto battle over and over again. And it's also like which character you picked. I think the first time I played, I really liked Hope for whatever reason, so I mained Hope when they gave me the option. And honestly, it's not worth it because like with Lightning, you get the Commando, which is super active. You get Ravager, which is super active. I like how she has Medic because I like to take control of the healing because when you switch paradigms, the NPCs don't usually like heal super fast. It like takes them like a second to like load it up. But if I'm Lightning, like I can just launch a cure. Like, so it like, I feel like Lightning is just the best to have. And I played it so wrong the first time. So
I'll also say about medics, and I've been noticing this more recently as we go through these like missions, because some of them are kind of hard, that like I'll have like one character who's like in the red HP, and then I'll be like, okay, Lightning, auto battle, throw some cures out, and she'll be like, I really need to top off first before I take care of them. And I'm like, no.
It's like we've spoken a lot of praise about the paradigm system and how weird it is, and I think like Steven, I think your first playthrough of it is probably a lot of people's first playthrough because it's kind of hard to wrap your head around the paradigm system, and just like it's a big departure from other types of Final Fantasy games or turn-based RPGs that everyone has kind of fallen in love with when they were starting to play 13. But like we are now at the point in the game where like it just expects you to have a really good understanding of the mechanics, and like Curtis is saying, there's certain times where you're just like, I need to rely on the AI of one of my party members to do the thing that I need them to do, and it is very rare that they do the thing that you want to. And it's like it's not like, I don't think it's bad. I can't imagine it being tweaked in a way that like makes it like possible to do that. Like maybe things of being like, try and focus on this, but it's like that's getting so granular that like the
game before this one did that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what everyone is always saying. They're like, yeah, what is it, the Gambit system, or
the Gambit system?
Gambits, but also too like 10-2 had the dress spheres, which is kind of like a paradigm shift if you think about it, like switching from one class to another. And I loved the dress sphere system because it also had like the cosmetic change. Like that was the one thing where 13, I was like, I wish when you switched paradigms, they did at least like one thing differently. Like Lightning's sword went into like a staff or something. Like it would just give it a little bit of variety when you switched.
Have you played Lightning Returns?
No, and
that's okay because neither have I really.
So I loaded the disc for 13.2 and watched like the first cutscene battle and was like, I'm so lost already. Like,
oh, don't worry. Even if you complete this game, it doesn't matter. Like you could know everything about 13, and as soon as you start 13.2 and complete 13.2, you'll be like, "What the fuck?
Yeah,
what was any of that?"
I implore everybody to at least watch the first 5 minutes because it's insane. It's ridiculous.
It's so good.
But
what if Lightning was in a World War II style dogfight and she was flying Bahamut? And also was on a horse and
in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like one of the reasons too why I'm happy to be on like this particular episode is because I feel like the missions is something that like and spoilers, we're talking about missions. But like they hide these things in the game, and there is actual plot that you'll miss if you don't do these in a specific order. And the first time I played this game, I was like, I'm not really into exploring. Just show me where I need to go. There's the exclamation point. I'm just going to follow that. And I was completely lost. But these missions are cool. There's a lot to them. So I'm glad to be here and to be talking.
Well, I'm also glad you're here.
It's kind of interesting how this game like completely takes off the gloves, and it's just like, okay, well now here's all you have to do, a lot of backtracking, and how they were actually able to make this system, in my opinion, feel good and refreshing and actually fun. Like it doesn't feel like a grind to me necessarily. Like if you're not sure what the missions are, if you're not playing along, basically we'll get into it in more depth, but you go to a place, it gives you a mission to go and fight an enemy, and it's basically just like targeted battles. And like on paper that kind of sounds like, oh, okay, well I just have to run around and keep getting into these battles. That doesn't sound very interesting, but somehow they did it in a, like, I guess just because the battle system is so interesting and this world that we're about to explore is so interesting that it really works, in my opinion.
And I guess with that, maybe we should get into our very first one, which is where we left off last time, right? Like the very last thing we talked about was talking to the first Cie'th stone and getting our first mission. And as I've told everybody before the podcast, very excited for this one because of the text. Because whenever you start a mission, whenever you communicate with a Cie'th stone, it'll kind of you'll get a little screen where it shows you what the mark is, who you're hunting, and then a description of that creature, and then some thoughts from the L'Cie or the Cie'th who tried to do that mission and failed, like the one who's actually giving it to you, right? And the very first mission that we have is, let me roll all the way up to the top. What's his name? It's Pond Scum, or Pond Scum is the name of the mission.
Yeah, the title of the mission is Pond Scum.
And the mark is the ecto pudding.
And I want to talk about the ecto pudding a little bit as well. We can see the silhouette of it in a kind of Who's That Pokemon
it's
type
Pikachu.
way, and it looks like a flan.
Oh, okay.
It is Pikachu. But yeah, it looks like a flan, and I was kind of looking into it, and I was like, okay, ecto pudding. Pudding is a thing that has been in previous Final Fantasy games. Like it was
FF4.
What was it? The rainbow pudding in Final Fantasy IV? As like a rare drop that you got from...
Well, flan is a kind of pudding, right?
Yeah, like custard.
Yeah, and the flan enemy, I think, is what dropped the pudding. I can't remember. It's been so long since we've covered
Have you all had flan? I don't like it.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't like it.
It's one of my favorite things.
It could be good, but I've had some that are pretty bad too.
Do you guys, more importantly, do you remember when we got like a meme a month and we thought that was like pretty, the days of like, oh shit, here come that boy, and you know, like all that shit. But one month it was just flan was the big meme that everyone was just posting a picture of like a stock photo of flan and just making flan puns. Like that was a big thing in like
flan. Know your memes. It's just random flan images. Yeah,
if it's not on Know Your Meme, it doesn't count.
Maybe perhaps I dreamt it, but
I see a picture of Flanders, which is just Flan with Flanders' face on it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. I think it was a lot of shit like that. But I think the first appearance of Flan in Final Fantasy, I think, was Final Fantasy II, where like that character, that enemy type was called a flan.
I love the flans.
So could we just talk about how like the Cie'th stone is like 20 feet away?
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Got so close.
It's a very good tutorial Cie'th stone instead of sending you on a freaking goose chase to like 3 maps away or whatever.
Have to run past 3 fucking behemoths or something, or behemoths.
Yeah. There are some terrible ones, but this one is, it's just right in front of it.
Well, I do think it's pretty interesting that all of the missions that we're able to take pretty much until the next chapter are kind of in a line, and not like in a straight line all the way to the end, but like this mission, Pond Scum, will take us to a pond where we fight the Mark, and right beside that Mark will be mission 2, which will take us to an area which is pretty much beside mission 3, and it kind of leads us through the different areas and takes us to the different places around the steppe.
It's a pretty good way to like organically get you to explore this world kind of on a path, but it's still, it's like following a path in Breath of the Wild or any other open world game where you're like, oh, what's that in the distance? Let me go, oh, I see a treasure sphere over there. Let me go deviate a little bit. So it kind of just incentivizes through this mission system a very kind of like, again, like linear quote unquote way of just being like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, but it gets you to cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, some of the missions also act as like fast travel points, which are going to be like crucial later on, more or less. And also like the more walking you do now, the better, because it'll help with the money later on. Like without revealing too much, like the more walking you do right now, the more your money problems will be solved down the line. So it's worth it.
Especially, I think after we unlock, I think the 14th mission, we have a tool to help us find some good gil.
Curtis, do you want to talk about why you're so excited?
Yes, I do want to talk about that. That's literally what I was going to say. So like I said, it gives you a little blurb about the enemy and some of the Lassie's thoughts about it before they fought it. And I like that this Lassie refers to the ecto pudding as that gelatinous rube. And I was like, get his ass. Even hundreds of years later, you've been turned to fucking like a Cie'th stone. You failed your mission, but you're still able to just burn their ass from all the way over here. You fucking gelatinous rube.
This Lassie must be much smarter than that gelatinous rube, of whom we know nothing.
But it is kind of sad, like, that you have to imagine that every one of these like sayings from these Lassie or from these Cie'th stones, a lot of them are very hopeful. They're like, no problem, I'm gonna go take care of this guy, go to a crystal slumber for a few hundred years, no problem. And you're like, oh, they didn't make it. What happened?
Yeah. And like Steven was saying, this one's so close. It's like, you were so gung-ho to kill this guy.
What happened?
You were so ready, and then it's just like...
What if he's like on his way to do it? Like the Lassie's like, oh, there's the pond right there. Time to just walk over here and, oh no! And like becomes a Cie'th.
It's like, before I get into this, let me just tie my shoe really quick. Gonna rest my eyes for 15 minutes. Oh no!
You ever walking and you step on one of your shoelaces and accidentally untie it, And like the Cie'th brand increases during time of distress. And so you're like walking over to it, you accidentally untie your own shoe, and you're like, God damn it! And the like eye on your brand opens up. No!
Yeah, it's like, when you're walking on the sidewalk and some of it's like
just a little bit,
just a little bit, and you catch yourself completely, but it's like you get that sinking feeling, and you're like, oh, and it like, and then you think everyone around you saw it, and you feel super embarrassed.
A fucking Eidolon comes out of nowhere. No, not now. I'm just trying to get to the corner store.
Yeah. But yeah, this Lassie was tragically very, very hopeful, saying, I only need to slay this and to avoid becoming a Cie'th. Like, how many years it must have been since I left the village in pursuit of that vile pest. My brand will not wait forever. I must kill it and quick. And then, when I awaken from my crystal slumber, I can help to repair the ruin it left in its wake.
Which I don't know what kind of ruin this thing would be causing, because it's kind of bitch-made.
Yeah, it's a very easy fight.
I wrote in my notes, 0-hit flank. Because he didn't even hit me. He didn't even get an attack off. Get out of here.
Yeah, I finished in 50 seconds.
Yeah.
So.
I also like to ask, what kind of fal'Cie had it out for this ecto pudding?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And how long has it been out on the loose?
The missions that we get are like so grandiose, and it's like you must like restore a sleeping god by wreaking havoc and killing countless people and stuff. And then it's like, oh, I got to go and beat up this low-level enemy in an end game area.
This fucking rube owes me $5.
Fucking gelatinous rube.
There's one mission later where the guy's literally like, I spent my whole life hunting, and now my like life or death mission is I have to hunt this thing. Like, I'm so sick of this. Like, but yeah, I mean, some of the other ones are really tragic too.
Some of them are fucked up where it'll be like it just takes a person and it's like, go kill that adamantoise, and you're like, what? Like the person will be like, oh, you're shitting me, right? Like that's not possible.
Impossible. It's a fiction.
It's impossible. Can't be done.
Yeah, it never happened.
We made it up.
Yeah.
Ectopudding guy had it easy.
Yeah, there's really not much to say about him. You kind of just push him over, and he's done. But
yeah, he's just a guy. But do we want to like mention like this whole environment, because we only like got.
Let's talk about the Steppe.
Yeah, because we got a quick like cutscene, kind of get a grand like look at it, but especially after once the mission's getting along, we're gonna have to like get real familiar with the layout, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because we noticed that the map does not orient north, and there's no way to lock it.
Oh, it sure doesn't.
My God.
It sure doesn't.
I didn't notice that until you pointed it out, and until I got deeper and deeper into the missions. And like I said, I really like this system. I'm having fun with it, but there are so many things where like in my brain, I'm like, there is so many easy quality of life choices that they could have made to just make this slightly better. Like you were saying,
Square, fix your game.
Like have an option to set the map to always be pointing north so that you don't get turned around when you see something shiny in the distance and move your camera. And then you're like, wait, which direction was I going? Now east is west and up is down. What the fuck?
Up is down, yeah.
I did find out I had to kind of do it the I guess the kind of old-fashioned way is that when you pull up the map hitting square on the, or I guess X or whatever, it'll show you the map oriented wherever the camera's facing, but like in the sky, you can actually see Cocoon is laid out on like the upper left, if you're facing north, in the upper north left of the screen, and you can actually kind of use that as a way marker, like, okay, where's Cocoon, and you're yourself facing Cocoon, and now you know like everything. That's your way marker.
Like Polaris.
It's like that's your north.
When it comes to like adding a compass to the FF13 map, and I'm always joking like, Square, fix your game, put a compass in it. I want to cite precedent for this because there's precedent for it. The DS remake of Final Fantasy III came out in 2006, and they added auto battle to it in a patch in 2020, 14 years after the game came out. And they were like, yo, this shit should have auto battle. And they were right. It's great with auto battle.
Yeah, in the year 2020, they were like, oh shit, we need to add auto battle before the 3DS servers get shut down so we can never patch it again.
Yeah.
I should be mentioned too that if you hit square on the map, it'll open a mission list.
Yes.
So if you have like interacted with any Cie'th stones, it'll show you where they are on the map, but I believe it only works for the Cie'th stones that are on the map you are currently on. So if you have to walk to another area and it warps you to a different map, like it won't really show you that stuff.
Yeah, okay. And this is that's another thing that I kind of grew to have a problem with. And again, just complaining about an old game and wishing that there was more consideration of things that are kind of just standard in open world games in 2022. So doesn't feel like a fair thing to complain about, but I'm still going to complain about it. The UI to me is kind of hard to read because it's like, they're just like the Cie'th stones that you see are just gray, and if they're dormant, they're like a transparent gray, and the map is like the same one that we've been looking at where it's kind of like a, you know, like a light teal or like kind of like a greenish hue, you know, kind of sci-fi looking, and like there's a lot of things on here. There's like yellow Cie'th stones that will unlock and become what they call waypoints or waystones, I think, that let you teleport. But it's just like when I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I have like upwards of like 17 Cie'th stones like active in this zone, and I have no fucking idea which one is the one that I need to find next to get my next mission. And I just keep like looking all around. I'm like, oh, there's one that's flashing. And I like, with the moving compass and everything, someone in like my Twitch chat will be like, oh, you were just by it, it's to the left or something, but I'll have moved the map enough to be like, well, now I don't know which way left is that you're referring to. So again, it's just a nitpicky thing.
It's like I was just saying, you have to do everything cocoon words or away from cocoon.
Yeah.
Like
the active ones do pulse like a little bit, but it's almost from like a white to a white, so it's hard to really see. And then ones you've already completed are like a little bit more bluish.
Yeah.
It is tough.
Everything is some version of like translucent.
I'm like looking at one that I already activated that's next to another one that I already activated and completed. I'm like, am I losing my mind, or are these flashing a little bit? And then I'm like, no, they're not. I need to go to another part of the map and see the flashing one.
Square clearly did not have me in my old age with my failing eyesight in mind.
Yeah, the flash is very subtle because it is a very like light blue, and it just subtly like flashing when it's active. And it's also very small. I wish you can like change the scale. Like if this is a PC game, you could like scale like the UI elements and like you see however, and also colorblind mode where it's like boosts the contrast of everything.
That was another thing I was thinking of too. It's like
imagine again playing this on on an early like plasma that just reads like shit. And
I was gonna say, I definitely played this on like a 13-inch screen when it first came out because like I just did not have an HD TV.
The way it was intended. So that's the duh map, but we should also talk about duh area as well.
Yeah.
And my first question I wanted to ask you about duh area is, how do you pronounce it?
Last episode we were like, is it Arcalit? Is it
Arcalit?
I'm bowing out. I have no idea how it's supposed to be pronounced.
Well, thankfully there's like only every area. I think there's 6 or 7. Because I guess Oerba is its own thing, which we'll talk about a few episodes from now. But there's the media, which is where we came from. There's the steppe. There's the massif, which is like the mountainous region. There's the subterra, which is the tunnels, the springs, and the tower. And those are kind of where most of our stuff will be happening in this chapter.
There's an answer. Well, it's on answers.microsoft.com. So
you know it's true.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Oh, but GameFAQs. GameFAQs. Here we go.
Is there a Japanese? Is it written in like a phonetic way in Japanese?
Oh, you know what? That actually is. Yeah, that would be the right way to do it, huh?
They call it the Great Plains in this one.
Well, let me just say that according to Microsoft Answers, the pronunciation of it is Archaeolete.
Archaeolete. Okay.
Archaeolete.
R. Kelly.
Interesting.
History. Great monster of history.
I will call it the steppe.
That's why I was thinking. Like, thankfully there was no duplicate of certain terrain areas, so I'm just gonna call it the steppe.
Or the steppe.
Yeah, it feels like,
because it's spelled with a PE at the end.
But yeah, like when we first arrived here, I immediately thought like, oh, this is the Calmlands, but like what they were kind of going for when FF10 came out.
Yeah,
because it's constantly daylight. There are like fissures in the ground, and there's also like multiple layers of things, and you can't hop over unless you have like a chocobo or something.
Spoilers.
I didn't think about this, by the way, until you just said it just now. Is the sun out? Is there a sun? Does this planet rotate?
I was thinking that when I was playing this morning. I was like, Cocoon, their fal'Cies are the sun and everything.
Yeah,
but
they have to have a fake sun.
Pulse doesn't have a fal'Cie that's the sun. Where's their sun coming
what if
from?
Pulse is just another cocoon, and Cocoon's a cocoon inside of that cocoon?
Oh my god.
We're all just in the cocoon, man.
I'm sure the Ultimania has...
Well, Cocoon's facing inwards, so they kind of need a fake sun, so maybe they're back away from the real sun. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's, again, like, we've talked about how the camera controls in this game, and it's kind of strange, so it's not even like I didn't even think to look at a sun, even though on this season of Bonfire Side Chat, they're talking about Elden Ring, and at the beginning of that season, they were saying that there was no sun and that everything is lit by the Erd Tree, and then people pointed out, like, no, there's definitely a sun, so they just doubled down on it. They're like, there is no sun in Elden Ring. So I'm going to do the same thing in their and say there is no sun in Pulse.
I have no sun.
Well, I typed in Pulse Sun FF13 into Google, and while I didn't see any articles or any pages about it, the first one that came up is just all the fal'Cie ranked, and I was like, what? And of course, I feel like it's pretty lame. They rank Orphan as number 1. Come on, that's
number
dumb.
4. You won't believe number 4.
You won't believe number 4.
The Bulkhead Fal'Cie made it on here. What the fuck? Yo, we've probably talked about this. There's got to be a toilet Fal'Cie, right? Like a real weirdo. It's
like the Quagmire face, where his face is a toilet.
Did you see in Nautilus there was that guy who was like, there has to be a Fal'Cie for making these things smell better?
Damn, he just like us for real.
Isn't there a Fal'Cie in charge of deodorizing these things in response to the chocobos?
Yeah, he's standing at the opposite end of the pervert who's like real into the musk of the chocobo.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's beautiful. There's what I love, like, or I don't even know if we went into it, but I feel like this is like really refreshing coming from a lot of open world games that I've played recently. Like, it's everything feels kind of hilly and natural, and also just how much stuff, like including living things, are just in frame at all the time.
It feels alive.
It
doesn't feel like things were just mechanically placed on a parking lot of a level.
Yeah.
Like, you see those giant animantoids clomping around on like the horizon. There's
even like little sections where they like conglomerate too.
Yeah.
There's like different sections where different enemy types will hang out and like cluster and nest. And there's even some areas where you have to backtrack to even get to them later. And it's just really interesting to like explore up until a point. It is a little like, once you've done it the first time, the second time you have to run through the giant like middle ground area. It's just like a little bit of a slog.
You could kind of mentally break down parts of the steppe into their own little spaces, and like the part you're talking about, the middle space, is definitely real. That's definitely like a chunk of it. Yeah, because to get from here to the what's the underground, the subterranean or whatever, you just have to cross that giant middle section.
Yeah, but like that's the thing that is great about these missions, is that this will kind of guide you in exploring the area over time. And there are some areas too where there's enemies that you're not ready to fight yet.
Oh yeah.
So they kind of expect you to go there later. So following these missions, it gives you a little bit of a path to explore the area in a safe, comfortable environment and like still complete some pretty major things.
And let me say, I did fight every enemy, even if I knew I wasn't supposed to fight them yet. I was like, I just have to see. I just have to see how many digits of damage the adamantoids will do with one stomp. And it's 5 digits.
I just need to see how quickly I can do nothing and then die to this giant turtle stomping around. And then you just get into the battle, and like you have like 5 seconds of the song starting up, and it just steps once, and your whole party's dead. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to steer clear of them.
The first time I fought one, just to like see what was going to happen, I attacked immediately, and Lightning was able to run up and then jump into the air to attack the face of the adamantoids. It stomped once, so I didn't see the numbers for my people on the ground, and then I just landed, and both of my characters are dead who are still on the ground. And I was like, oh, it's like that, okay. Except one more time, I see like 15,000 damage pop up. I'm like, oh my god.
There is some cool environmental storytelling as well around here if you look for it. Like it's way later, it's after quite a few missions, but we find a place where there's just a bunch of like baby adamantoids just kind of all hanging out together. And there's like 2 ways to get there. They're behind like a giant cliff, but there's like a small passage that can let you through, and there's a big adamantoids kind of just standing in that cliff, and on the other side of it are 3 of those like pantheron type creatures, like not squaring up with the adamantoids, but like standing there, like they want to get in there and go after the babies, but the big one's just like, nah, you're not getting in here.
Yeah,
and so I was like, that's really really cool. Like I like how they did that.
Is a Valley of Giants. Like they all kind of, they're also very peaceful. I like that they don't aggro you. You can kind of if you bump into them, you will initiate them. And I also like there's sometimes, because they count as enemies, there are some that are just guarding an item. They're just like sitting there just still.
Yeah, it's like, god damn it, I can't get that item.
Speaking of items, a little detail I liked that just seems very fun is that there's gremlin enemies will just occasionally be circling and praising like an item ball. They'll be like worshiping it.
It's so good.
Which is cool. They're like dancing around it. Like it's even if you've like destroyed them and clicked the item later, they'll still be like praising.
Yeah, like
praise the orb.
I gotta wonder. just in terms of like the history of technology and everything, we kind of talked about it a little bit, that like, you know, Pulsean technology is kind of more relatable. It's more Earth-like, whereas Cocoon technology is more sci-fi and futuristic. And so like these treasure spheres, I don't think they're a product of Pulse. I'm trying to like figure out, like, I wonder if that's in the Ultimanium anywhere. Because it's like, if we're to think like, oh, they're worshiping this thing because it's like, oh, it fell from the sky and
it fell from Cocoon or something.
Yeah, and like
it could be leftover trash from like the war or whatever.
It fell when the ships were bringing shit from Pulse to like patch up Cocoon or whatever.
You got a page on it, but it doesn't really say a lot about like.
I need to read the data log about treasure spheres, I guess.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, you could probably fell out of Cocoon at some point.
I'm sure that we will continue to talk about the sections of the Steppe, but I would say in the meantime, let's continue our missioning, because after we beat the Ecto Pudding, the next Cie'th stone is right beside him.
And it is called Goodwill Hunting. That is not.
That has to be a reference to something.
Reference to Patch Adams.
Yeah, this pond also has a bunch of sheep like walking around.
It does. Yeah, the little sheeps are just
and they're
so cute.
Your party will actually like comment on them if you hang around the sheep for a little bit. They'll be like, "Oh, look at these little guys."
Except Fang, she's mean. She's like, "Oh, looks like a dull way to live."
yeah, she does say that. Yeah, I think Hope says like, he's like, "Oh, well, they've managed to be here and not be eaten." So kind of like saying like, "Oh, if they could do it, we can do it."
Yeah.
They are very slow and very small, so yeah. They're like the Kakapo of this world, where like they somehow have no natural predators despite everything. So they're very dumb and very easy to like.
Very easy to shear, as we'll see.
The only predator that they have are the people of Cocoon, who capture them to bring them to Nautilus as a mascot and for a petting zoo.
And maybe the soda is their gross milk blood. Anyway, Goodwill Hunting has us going after the Uradimu, which is like a Pantheron, but more scurry.
Yeah, and the way that this battle kind of works is that it's not just the Uradimu that we have to worry about, but also the Gorgonopsids that are...
That's one of the... What do we be calling Pantherons? That's like the natural Pulsean Pantheron, right?
Yeah. I called them bipedal and you yelled at me, so...
Yeah, I'll do it again, too.
So in Final Fantasy XIII fashion, they're once again slowly introducing you to the idea that when you take on these marks, there might be other enemies with them as well.
The beasts, that's what they're called.
And the Cie'th is kind of reminiscing about this as well, and says like, oh, you know, like today is the day I put an end to that troublesome Uradimu. But like the problem is that it's got a pack of loyal Gorgon, George Stephanopoulos or whatever, Gorgonzolas. The master alone is a worthy enough foe. Must I face the hounds as well? Which makes it, a more challenging fight. If it was just a single fight of killing the mark, it wouldn't be a problem. But like Steven was saying, there's often a lot more going on with these fights.
Speaking of which, I thought this fight was plenty challenging. I think I might have died once on it. It wasn't an easy victory for me.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. These things have the virulent breath, which can cause like poison and do some status stuff to you. So it's not just like we just have to fight and win. It's definitely kind of challenging.
Yeah.
I think too that like the missions are kind of designed with the intention that you switch up your party to face them, and like some will have certain like weaknesses over others, but like in true fashion, I'm just like, nah, I'm keeping my party and I'm just gonna bash my head against this side.
I was gonna say, as all of us will agree, we all just stick with the party that we like, and we're like, no.
I am excited
especially
to talk
Carl.
About one of the missions coming up eventually, because oh my god. Speaking of though, what's everyone's party? What's everyone's core party that they're taking on these enemies with?
I started with Lightning, Hope, and Fang, and I have not deviated from that yet, because that seems like a good combo. OP as hell.
Yeah, so Lightning, Hope, and Fang is what I use to tackle most of the game. I think for this part, I had Saz instead of Hope just for the haste, but I would switch him out with Hope every now and again. But then near the end, I actually just switched to Lightning, Hope, and Saz, because I was like, all buffs, all fight.
Yeah.
Like, no
aggro.
No saboteur, nothing.
Actually, that's a better
really
idea.
Try to get through.
Because what I would do, sometimes I would switch out Fang for Snow, because Snow is like Fang except has Ravager, and so I could use Tri-Disaster to build my stagger real fast. But now that you're saying that, Saz probably would have been a better one to switch out for, although I wouldn't have Sentinel. But I might not need it for some of these fights.
For some of them, definitely having a Sentinel or a Saboteur does help for sure. Yeah, but I really found, so my party, I did all of the fights leading up till this point. Like, I just did all of them. This was the one point where I was like, I'm just skipping everything. I'm just hitting my marks and I just want to see how far I can get. And I got all the way up to mission 14 that way. So like if you do try to play it strategically, like, these are very doable. But
I think that's what's interesting about this battle system, which I learned the hard way by bashing my head against one of these missions for 2 straight hours until I finally was able to win. But my team is going to be Fang, Vanille, and Lightning, probably for most of it. I am coming to some missions where I'm like, well, I don't want to just keep bashing my head against this and try to make it work. I need to think of an actual strategic thing of who to like tag in and stuff. But I think it's very interesting that this game kind of is built in a way that in most of these situations, if you really want to, you can probably make it work. Like, that might not always be the case. I think there's definitely going to be some battles where it's like, no, you're going to really want to use this specific role. But it is nice that, like, it gives you these options to get creative with what you know.
When we finally, like, way down the line, max Vanille out, she'll have some things that she can do that make her very like, oh, I'm just going to have Vanille on tap all the time.
Yeah, I wish I could talk about that, because she just so becomes ultimately like, she'll just kill everything.
There's a skill that you learn and you like sit there and you go, wait, what? She learned what?
and I don't want to talk too much about it because spoilers and whatnot, but like, those abilities too are hidden. Like, if you just hit auto battle, they'll never come up.
Yeah.
So like, there's parts of this game that are like really hidden, but so worth it to figure out.
Yeah. It's so cool. It just makes me want to keep playing and trying different things. You know, I say, as someone who is only using this party and refusing to deviate, but even that gives you a lot of different things where you're like, okay, this isn't working, so I need to switch up my paradigms and try starting with this paradigm versus that one.
And so often I hit retry, I get the preemptive strike, and it's over in 30 seconds.
Yeah, when you hit the preemptive, it makes such a difference.
Yeah. But I'll also say there's a fight that I've kind of stuck on right now. Later on, we won't get to it today, but I have been getting preempts, and it feels like it doesn't do anything. It's like, yeah, it gives me a little bit better of a start, but I still am not able to beat this the way that I'm trying it.
Interesting. Well, we also get mission rankings when we beat a mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like the battle, like the actual battle, like how we did on it out of stars is tallied for us. And so if we go into our mission list on the map, you see that. And there is an achievement for getting 5 stars on every mission. So at some point I'll have to go back and get the ones that I missed.
Yeah.
Or I missed getting 5 stars on. And it gets harder because as you level up and get better equipment, the conditions for getting 5 stars become tighter. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm off to a really good start with that on the first 2 missions because I got 1 star on the ecto pudding one, and I got 0 stars on Goodwill Hunting somehow. I guess maybe
Goodwill Hunting is the one I have my lowest rating on.
Yeah, it like we were saying, like they're doable, but there can be some challenge to it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we get equipment for, or I mean, different things. We get equipment, we get items for beating these missions as well. We get a lot of what is it, Rondicite or Rondicron or whatever?
Yeah, one of the like,
you know, a lot of those I noticed, or like the Cobaltite, things like that. You get a lot of those ones. But I just wanted to mention that real fast as we go along, just to be like, oh hey, we're getting some interesting stuff as we go, and a lot of this stuff is worth money. Like for instance, our 3rd mission that we can find right after we beat the Uradimu is called Massive Contamination. And we have to go fight Ugalu for this one.
Lord
but for winning it, we get a platinum bangle, which like we could have upgraded to getting already. But if we haven't, and you want to just sell the platinum bangle, it sells for like 30,000 gil. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're definitely getting to points where we can get some gil in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the spot. I also did see the dragon from the Pulse intro cutscene, the one that attacked the ship and caused Vanille and Hope to like get ejected out the side.
Oh yeah.
I was like walking through the valley and it like swooped down. So like, again, just like little things that you might not see if you're not going for the missions. But they're there.
We should talk about the valley too, because it's technically a different area. And this is where we're going to fight the Ugalu, right? Mm-hmm. Is that there's a attached area called the Yaschas Massif?
Sounds good to me.
Or the Massif, as I'll call it.
Remember it, because if you need to warp later, you need to know that that's where this is.
It's the mountainous region. That's kind of...
I love this area. It's like
it's a cool area.
A canyon that's very like there's a lot of like plants growing, but it's a canyon at the same time. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of these like very tall, like they're like dandelions, but they're multiple tree heights tall. It's very interesting. I really like this area.
Before
also,
we
the
get
music
into
is just bossa nova.
Oh yeah, so good. Like a bossa nova beat.
It's like a bossa
Such
nova
a groovin'. There was something kind of cool near the Sea Stone for Mission 3, where it was like Alex was saying, those gremlin enemies who are just like around a treasure chest that we have to kill them to get. And I found this fight really interesting because I got a preemptive strike on it and was able to like finish it in like a minute and 30 seconds. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, you know, easy. I feel kind of like I cheesed that a little bit.
What was the target time on that one?
So the target time on that one, I did get 5 stars because the target time was fucking 14 minutes and 31 seconds. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like if I didn't have...
Did we talk about this last time or did we talk about it off air?
I can't remember. If we did,
it's worth saying again either way.
But yeah, I think, is this one of the mechanics where the enemies can call in additional enemies during the fight? Mm-hmm. Which becomes real fucking shitty mechanic the deeper we get into these missions. Like, this isn't a mission one, but I guess this is the game kind of like preparing you for that with like some enemies that are at least pretty easy to deal with. But I saw 14 minutes. I was like, I'm not doing this the real way. No.
I went back and I waited and I wanted to see what they would call in. And they called in a fucking Behemoth King. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
shit.
I think we did talk about this. And it's like, oh my God, dude. Like, it's scary. This area is scary. As beautiful as it is, as soothing as the overworld music is, it's fucking terrifying.
It feels wild. It feels like a wild, untamed world because, like, every step really could be your last step. You just, like, get into a fight with something that you don't think is going to be a big deal, and it just wipes the floor with you. You're just like, what the fuck?
You can be walking along, minding your own business, and an aerial enemy just swoops down and starts a battle with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's incredible. Especially so on the Massif as well, because like there's parts where we like walk alongside the canyon walls on like these little like predetermined paths, and there are flying enemies that we run into, and they're kind of tough. Like they constantly do like a ground spin move that hits all of your party members, and when you first get there, that spin move does like a third of every party member's health, and it attacks so often. And when you finally stagger it, it will do like a multi-hit physical attack on one of your party members that will just kill them.
Yeah.
Like just straight up kill them, like from full HP. So it's very dangerous. And so it definitely does feel like taking on wild beasts.
Yeah, there's certain like points, like I was just kind of exploring around to see what I could find, and I got to the northern high plain of the Arclight step, or however you say it, and it just suddenly felt like Silent Hill. Because there was like a deep fog that happened, and then just a bunch of like behemoth enemies and stuff, and I was just like, I need to get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
I mean, because it's foggy, I think it's easier to actually like avoid them because they can't see you as well.
Yeah.
As far as I can
they're just as scared of you as you are of them.
I will say that like that is one very nice thing about it. Like the CP now in our Crystarium is expensive enough that it does take a little battling to get even like a node. You might have to do 2 or 3 battles. But there are so many battles here. Like there's so much to do, and like the areas that you need to go to. Like we can kind of like pass over and say like, okay, we're at one end of the Massif and then we're on the other end. But that might be an hour-long walk. And so it's a lot of battles to get into. But it is incredibly satisfying to fight, like, for instance, these like flying enemies, and they're so dangerous. And then by the time you're done with like mission 10 or 11, you come back and you're just annihilating them. Just like, I don't even give a shit that these guys are here.
It's a cool way of like power leveling, but not just like going to one spot and farming one particular encounter and like getting super. You're just like kind of going along at a pace that feels natural, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm getting strong as hell.
Right, yeah. And like the stat up nodes that are in our Crystarium now, even though they're more expensive, they provide a lot more stats. So when I started, I remember being like, how exciting, soon I will have 2000 HP with lightning. That will be great to have. And, you know, I have to get one HP node and then later another HP node, and they don't really come super fast because they're expensive and there's all the other nodes in the way. But where I have the game left at after I've done the first 16, 17 missions, I have over 3,000 now. I have like 3,500 HP. So I've almost doubled my HP just through walking through these couple missions. So even though it's not a lot of like plot and it's not a lot of like these big momentous events, we're really, really getting stronger if we walk through and actually fight everybody.
Another cool thing about it, too, is if you're just going through the missions and fighting some random encounters here and there, your other team members that you're not using are also getting the CP.
Hell yeah, they are.
It's nice to like look and just see how far you've come. Like at one point today, I was like, okay, I might need to like tag in Saz or Snow or Hope or someone. Let's see how much, you know, XP they have or whatever. And I saw it and it was literally 6 digits. I hit 100,000 of like Christogen points, and I was just like, oh, like meat's back on the menu, boys. I was like so excited. And I ran through and like it did not do all that much. Like it got people pretty close to the end of one of their rolls, but like not enough to get the ATB bar for some of or like just enough to get the ATB bar edition for like Saz and Snow. And like I'm trying to get that roll level and I'm still just shy of it. But with Hope, I went through and did one of his rolls and I was like, cool, like let's see like how everyone looks now that I've leveled up completely. And Hope still has 1,300 HP. I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
Get together, kid.
I mean, that is kind of fun though, because like it's interesting because if you're, you know, to me, I haven't seen 6 digits of Crystarium points or Christogen points. I barely ever see 5 because I get to like 8 or 9,000 and I'm like, oh, that's a node. Let's just use it.
Yeah.
But like, if you think about 6 digits worth, that's like 11 nodes.
Yeah.
Like it seems like, oh my God, I've never even seen that much before. But yeah, it's like 11 nodes. It's not that much.
It does cap at all 9s in 6 digits, I've heard, which is going to be hard to get to.
Yeah.
For now, at least.
Sure. Well, if we do everything in the game and we do the gill grind later, we'll see it eventually.
Yeah, we will need that, I'm sure.
But yeah.
Did you watch the cutscene at the end of the mission 3?
Well, let's talk about mission 3 first then. How about? And then we'll do just because we haven't talked about the actual fight with the Ugalu.
Sure, yeah.
Which I didn't think was too bad. But
no, definitely not.
But it does attack constantly. And like the Ugalu is like a very fuzzy Iridimu. I don't know. It's like another wolf character, but it's very like furry, but very large. And it is just attacking all the time, and its swipe is like an area in front of it. So if your characters are just poorly positioned, you'll just all 3 get attacked with it over and over. It's kind of a motherfucker. He's not too bad, but he throws up damage, which like Hope is for this scene because you just throw Protect up on everybody.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I also wrote debuffs working like super well. So if you have Fang who can cast Slow, I think it's susceptible to Slow, and that will like cut its attack down like a lot.
It's susceptible as well to Imperil, which is your
favorite
go-to. That's my only move, and I'm going to use it until the end of the game.
That's a great move.
I just unlocked Imperilga with Vanille, and I'm just like, oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I think one thing that we did leave off about these missions, you earn ranks as you complete them. So like for this one, it was like your party has earned the rank of Mercifex.
Mercifex,
yeah.
I don't know if those ranks do anything, and some of them seem like little jokes even. In some of the missions, so
yeah, they're like cute. I should look up like if they do anything or if there's any anything more than just being like, you got like friend of a chocobo or whatever.
But yeah, there is once we beat it, like very nearby, there's a cutscene.
It's a little silly.
It's optional, right? Like we don't actually have to see this.
It's completely optional.
Now the cutscene you're talking about is the one with Hope and Vanille, right?
Hope and Vanille, yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, this isn't even. I came across this by mistake, not even having anything to do with the mission. You think it's just if you walk to a certain area of this map, at a certain time, and it'll just pop up.
There's like a little exclamation point that kind of like guides you towards it. But I think it is technically optional. And you might even be able to do it kind of out of order if like
I was going to say I did this
seeing this
after.
way later.
Yeah, I saw this way later.
I went back for it, I think, at some point.
Yeah, but it is just kind of right there by the end of mission 3. So like maybe it catches your eye right before you do mission 4. But it basically is just Vanille and Hope talking to each other, and Vanille lies more.
Yeah,
she needs to stop.
Yeah, she
it.
loves lying, dude. All she knows is eat hot chip,
Imperil
twerk,
gun, and lie.
Something on your mind?
Huh? Oh, I was just thinking.
About what? Something complicated?
I was just taking it all in. The sky here, the trees, the sunlight, the smells.
She basically says to Hope that Hope had promised her that they would see Pulse together. And he's like, what? Really? And she's like, yeah, like in another lifetime, maybe. Which like, okay, whatever. But then Hope's totally fine with it.
He like
Hope
pulls it around on her, actually. He kind of like...
So he commits the cardinal sin of telling her to smile.
Fellas, ladies love it when you tell them they should smile more. Try this at home.
Yeah.
It's a Pulse tradition.
Then all of a sudden, Vanille's like, wait, you like me like that? And I'm like, okay, so now Vanille has accused Saz and Hope of being attracted to her.
Yeah.
Like,
and specifically, the thing is that Hope, when he says that to her, he's like, oh, will you do something for me? Keep smiling. It makes me happy when you smile. And then, yeah, the way she takes that is very like, oh my gosh, you're romantically like attracted to me.
I didn't know you meant like, I didn't know you felt like
yeah, she gets all flustered. Yeah.
And then Hope is just like, no, I was just kidding. Ha, bye.
Yeah, he says like, I lied too.
Very weird scene. Just all across the board. Very weird.
Yeah. Like a little sweet, but like, just again pointing to the fact that like Vanille is a liar and has not yet come like to the truth with everybody.
Yeah. And to me, I keep falling for it because I'm like, well, what's the lore significance of this? Because we know she is from the crystal stasis of at least like hundreds of years ago or whatever. Like, did she know? Is this some overarching thing that I'm going to read about in the data log that like Hope was reincarnated from like this other thing that Vanille has? And it's like, no, she's just fucking clowning on him or something. Like,
yeah.
Unless she basically admits that she can't even keep track of the lies anymore.
She just loves to lie.
The only way
I think is the best thing that comes out of that scene.
Mm-hmm.
The only way, what she's saying when she's like, maybe in another lifetime we promised to see Pulse together. The only way that would make sense is if there was some kind of sequel where time travel was involved, and so it could be possible that they did it in another lifetime. But that would be a very, very silly direction for 13.2 to go in.
Yeah, I don't think that the fine developers over at Square Enix would do such a thing.
Anyway, so we continue along through the Massif, taking missions, kicking ass. What is number
We're
4
all out
here?
Of ass.
We're all
fighting
out of
the
ass.
Ardoa.
The Adroa.
Adroa, yeah.
These guys.
This was my worst one.
I think I lucked out through this one.
The one-eyed Adroa, the classic big eye, one-eye enemy that if you wanted to experience all the fun of the Calm Lands again, where we had to fight one of those big eye things for like whatever material we had to farm them for, here we are again because it's the same type of enemy.
Was it the triple AP weapons?
I think so. I don't even remember. I've scrubbed the running through this. We'll talk about it later, but running through this area on a chocobo like made me just feel intense anger because I remembered running on a chocobo in the Calm Lands.
Well, there's a group of these. So these are like the little gremlin enemies, right? And they have a single eye. And they're all hanging up on an area called the Ascendant Scarp, which like is kind of like a rock that juts out from the canyon wall. And they're all kind of up there dancing around. And there's a ton of them. And I ran right into the middle of them, like right into the center of them, attacked one of the back ones, and got a fucking preemptive. I don't know how that happened. Wow. Like I was like deep in the group.
They don't have depth perception.
Yeah, they don't have depth perception. They only have the one eye.
I think I did this one out of order by accident because I was very confused as to what the map was saying, because like I think the mark is in a separate area,
yes.
and it kind of shows you that by having an icon on the screen of like the transition point from like the lower part to the upper part.
Yeah.
And I kept going to that thing and being like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? I keep getting to this thing that will usually like...
That's the thing. It does, the mark won't show up until you've explored that area of the map.
Yeah.
So like the mark was completely, or maybe it is there, but it's like completely off. Like you didn't know that the map continued that far off. So you had to like zoom out all the way and like, oh, there's a little red dot over here in the area of the map I haven't been to yet on the lower level of the massive.
And I was also 5 hours into my playthrough at this point. So I was like, my brain was just not there anymore. And like, this is where it kind of starts getting very backtracky. And I was just like, oh my God, dude, what the fuck am I doing wrong? So I like I found another Cie'th stone that was the next mission. And I was like, okay, well, I can see the mark here. I'll just go and do that. And then that led me, like, it was in like the opposite direction. So I had to run back and get the other Cie'th stone and redo the mission. I was just like, God damn, dude.
Yeah.
But that was more than anything, that was my own stupidity. So...
It is weird when you like follow the mark to like, hey, go down this way to like find the mark, which is a yellow icon. And then when you go down there, the only yellow icon that's left is the one that goes back to the story, which is back the way it came.
I was
so
worried that there was like a glitch happening or something, like the game was bugged, and I was just like, cool.
I was there when you were getting...
Yeah, I was like, what is going on?
I remember going through that exact same thing like way back in like 2010 or whatever. So like it's just an issue, but like once you kind of figure out like how that all works, it just leads you through this big long valley to where these guys are. And
there's also some more of those hot pepper flans on the way.
Yeah,
the hot pepper flans. The flower vespids.
I love those. Yeah,
there's these looks like the top of Bulbasaur, just like hanging like all these beautiful little like
they just look like flowers, and you don't even know that they're an enemy.
Yeah, they pop up like it seems like something from Zelda.
Yeah.
Like this thing will pop up from a plant and just like ambush you. You just get swarmed by like 3 of them.
It was a Pizza Hut. Now it's all covered with daisies.
That's a lyric, right?
I don't.
Yeah, it's Talking Heads. You got it. Okay. You got it.
But when you fight these Ardoas, they also come with these Verdelays, and those are the ones you want to focus on because they're the ones that summon giant wolves.
Yeah.
They can summon the goddamn Ugalu that we just fought, and I was like, oh, not again.
This is...
So I did not get a preemptive, and this battle took me 8 minutes.
Yeah, I very much lucked out on that one. Like, because I think, aren't they like immune to magic too?
Yeah.
Or like elemental damage?
It took me a while to realize, like, oh no, I need to be doing commando here.
Yeah, you'll get the stagger.
You'll get
like,
the stagger
up,
yeah,
but you won't actually be doing any damage. It just says block.
Right. Which I didn't like the way I had my party set up at the time. I only have paradigms that have Fang as commando. So I was like, okay, well I have to. So Fang is going to do barely anything, and I just need to concentrate with Lightning and Hope on just getting that stagger bar up. But even when the stagger bar is up, then Fang's going to be the only one who can really do the damage, and I have to wait for her to actually do it. So it was kind of interesting, but it ended up not being too bad.
The nice thing is that you always have the option to do like Ravager, if commando skills aren't, like if physical skills aren't working, or the strikes, I think, on the flip side of it. But like when you're just thrown into this battle where there's giant beasts being summoned and there's like already 6 enemies that like are hard to fight anyway, like you're not really thinking that, or at least I wasn't. Like I definitely struggled with this battle and had to do it for a while and retry it quite a bit.
Yeah.
This was the start of my I'm dumb and going to keep doing the same thing over and over again until I can make it work.
Yeah.
So, speaking of like, we were talking about how like we're trying to keep our own parties and stuff. This may not be entirely true, but it might be a rule of thumb if you're playing along with us that like I find Hope is better. Like if we're saying like Vanille and Hope as two characters who are kind of similar but have their own like special differences, I think Hope is better in a multiple enemy situation. Because a lot of Vanille's skills, until you get Imperil Guh, are only going to affect one at a time. You're only going to be able to, like, saboteur one enemy at a time. But if you use Protect, that protects you from all of the enemies at once.
Yeah.
So you kind of get, like, a better bang for your buck that way. But if there's only one enemy, then being able to cast, like, Imperil or something like that is definitely going to, like, give you a faster win. And the faster you win, the less damage you're going to take. So you're kind of saving HP that way, too.
Yeah.
So I would say maybe that's a way to think about it.
Speaking of Imperil, after this mission, after we beat it, we do get a pearl necklace, which is an accessory that prevents you from like having a chance of preventing Imperil on you, which
very good.
Could be helpful.
And so I like that was a good segue for that. And another good segue would be that speaking of accessories that you get from missions, the accessory you get from the next mission is one of my favorite accessories.
Ooh.
So
that's what, mission 5, right?
Mission 5, Joyless Reunion, which has some good mission text.
So I actually did this a little bit out of order because I believe that from here I went north to the exclamation point.
Okay.
To get the cutscene and did some stuff over there and then kind of like made my way back. But I think this is kind of the area where like now like there's multiple avenues. Like you can kind of just explore it as you see fit.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, like the missions are numbered, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do them sequentially. Like there's you can unlock multiple ones. There's certain points where you'll have to complete a mission in order to activate more Cie'th stones to get the next pool of missions to do. But it doesn't have to be like you must go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like you can kind of, if you're struggling with one, you could just move on to another one. Or if you can't find one like me, you can just move on to another one. And then be pissed about having to backtrack stupidly like the way I did. And I was like, well, it's not really the game's fault entirely.
Yeah. And some of the missions too, like in order to beat mission 6, you have to beat mission 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Because 6 won't like be activated until 5's done or whatever. But yeah, this is definitely where like now there are like a couple different missions you can explore, a couple different cutscenes you can go to. But mission 5, I also really the text description is so sad.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
So this one is written like entirely from the Lassie's perspective. I guess they all are, but it says, "So I'm to rid the world of Idemu. She was prowling the Sumatran basin the last I heard. Perhaps it's time to pay her a final visit and join her as a Cie'th. I could not bear to raise a weapon against my own wife after all, not even if her mind is no longer her own." And I was like, oh, that's so sad. His wife is a Lassie that became a Cie'th, and then the fal'Cie want him to go kill her.
Yeah,
and he's like, no, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just also going to go Cie'th.
Extremely
sad. Yeah.
Major bummer.
Major bummer, as a matter of fact.
But me, I have no problem.
Yeah, we have no ties to this creature.
I don't know
we
either of these people.
I have no emotional ties to this person. They could have been shitty people for all I know.
I don't even go here.
But here too, now we have these Cie'th that actually have names. So we will be coming across and encountering a couple Cie'th who have names and full histories and lores behind them. Some will be like really unique Cie'th. And again, they're completely optional, and you might not have ever seen any of them.
Is there a name for this one? Is it just, or is this a demon?
It's a demon.
Yeah.
Is her name? Yeah.
But it doesn't have a.
This is not one of the kind that we'll find later.
I see. It's a unique enemy.
Yeah.
That's why I forget sometimes if they show up in the because it just sounds like the name of like one of the weird feral beasts we were fighting earlier. And I'm like, oh, that just sounds like one of those things again.
And this enemy does inflict imperil on you.
Yeah. This one is just kind of like a flying Cie'th, though.
I was thinking about
the generic ones we've seen.
You know, I was thinking about it, and like we are introduced to Cie'ths very early on in the game, literally chapter 2. Like we start with fighting Cie'ths, and then we really don't see them for 10 chapters, right? Like for a long time. And then like when we fought this flying Cie'th, I was like, oh yeah, there were these guys, weren't there? They were over in the vestige.
And
beginning of the end.
It's also like we were killing them with Vanille's like yo-yo strings.
yeah.
How weak were they?
Yeah, these are homegrown Cie'th. They hit a little harder.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And Idimu does hit pretty hard. I didn't have like too much of a problem with her. I got her first try. I got the 5-star, but like she does damage though. She'll like actually hit you pretty hard. She has like a wind scythe attack that does quite a bit of damage to you. And she can imperil you. But at this point, Hope and Lightning should know Asuna. So you get imperiled, you just Asuna it and you just keep rolling on. It's not that bad.
Yeah, you don't want to be an imperil.
No. And this one and the next flying Cie'th, I believe, can both be slowed, so that helps.
I'm trying so hard to find in my weird backwards ass way of my fight with this, because I think I struggled with this, but I don't remember specifically why, and I cannot find in all of my mission footage. Like,
what was it, a moral struggle because of you knew the
yeah, I knew. I was just so heartbroken by it.
Well, I'll tell you what you get for winning is the Sorcerer's Mark.
Oh yeah,
which is, I love the Sorcerer's Mark because it increases your magic by like 100 or something crazy like that. Which like most of my characters are like Ravagers at all times, so I'm just like, oh shit, I'm really strong now. That rules. So I think Hope and Lightning both have the Sorcerer's Mark on. Big boost.
Yeah, this is also the time where I really started actually leveling up things.
Yes.
You start getting more materials. You start being able to buy more materials. Some stuff that will really give your equipment like serious experience.
Yep.
So you can even like level up your Sorcerer's Mark and get even more.
Yeah.
And it's worth it.
This is the first time, I'll probably talk about it more next episode because I didn't do it right yet. I did it a little later, but I have started upgrading my weapons and actually, I was going to say prestiging them. That's what you do in Call of Duty, where you turn them into level star. That's also what you do in Call of Duty. So basically, I Call of Duty prestige my weapons.
They were inspired by Call of Duty, as we remember.
That's true. But I was looking at the experience charts to see how much experience I needed to master a weapon, so I could get my 3 times experience on there and then just dump it all in at once and not waste any items. And I was like, oh man, that's pretty expensive. I'm gonna have to go buy some turbo jets from the store or whatever to get this to happen. But it's doable, it's gonna take 20,000 experience. Okay, I dumped 20,000 experience in level star. I leveled it up to the next thing, and then I looked at the experience table, and it was yeah, now you need 20,000 to get it to level 3. And I'm like, oh no. So to level it up now, to master the new version of the weapon, I need 300,000 experience. And I'm like, oh no.
There's one specific mission that I'll talk about when we're done with it, but that gives you the ability to really pump serious experience into your stuff.
Oh, I'm excited to hear about it because I don't know about it.
Well, let's keep tracking those missions then.
Let's do it. The next one, the next mission does not introduce this type of enemy, but the type of enemy is introduced in this area. And I love when I'm in a late game Final Fantasy and they introduce a new type of enemy. Mm-hmm. And B, I especially love this one.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The Munchkins.
These ones are so fucking goofy.
I love these little guys.
And we could have seen packs of these as we were running along, and they're very noticeable because they are extremely weird. They look like a 90s toy.
Moldy Cheerios.
Yeah.
They look like a Stretch Armstrong type thing, but on rollerblades, but their rollerblades are actually just spheres for feet.
Yeah,
they're freaking roller derby Cheerios.
Yeah, they're bellhops that deliver you Cheerios. And they make the goofiest sounds when they're punching you, which they do a lot of.
I love it.
When they're kind of these little high-pitched digital sounding whirring noises. They're kind of whiny sounding.
They look like they would if they were in like Overwatch, it's very similar to what's his name? I want to say Lucio, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I haven't
On
played
rollerblades,
Overwatch in so long, but they similar sort of thing. They got like wheels for feet and shit. Like,
but yeah, like it's like they took a donut and just put teeth on the hole,
which is interesting too, because this class, like the lower ranking ones, are called Munchkins, which much like the donut holes that we all know and love from Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh yeah. Where does their food go if their teeth is in the big hole in the center of them?
Oh, man.
It just goes behind them.
This is the class that is like Homer when his head gets turned into the giant donut.
Oh my god, it is! I love these little guys. They're great. I like the way that they attack, too, is they just flail their arms around and do hardly any damage, but there's like 8 of them at once.
Yeah, it's a bunch of attacks.
And
like, if there's a bunch of them circling you and they're all doing it, like, it can do some damage.
This is the clef key of this game.
Well, and the maestro who we're after will also buff all of the little munchkins.
Yeah.
So then
Goblin
if they're hitting me
Enhancement is the name of that skill.
Yeah, and then if they're doing like 8 punches, they can take serious HP off.
Yeah, they start choking you down. It gets real dicey real quick.
The maestros do look like freaking little like motorball DJs.
Well, yeah, okay, so
they're wearing headphones
mission number
too.
6. Mission number 6 is called No Place Like Home, and the target is the Munchkin Maestro, right? Or Maestro,
yeah.
Yeah, and this is like the tougher one that we were talking about, right? I also love that these guys are so goofy, and the description of the mission is like, this creature brought devastation on the home I left behind. I have to destroy it, for it destroyed my village. And I'm like, what the hell did it do? Did it just play like sick beats and nobody could handle it?
Skateboarded off my lawn.
Because you're right, it has headphones.
These are Carl's neighbors.
Yeah, these are my asshole neighbors who have a sound system that's better than a fucking like festival. So anytime they decide to have a party, it's just like dealing psychic damage to me and my fiance.
Yeah, your brand just starts evolving every time you hear them playing music.
Literally, anytime we kind of hear bass shaking our house, we're like, the fuck is that?
And then
you'll leave a Cie'th stone when you move out.
Yeah.
And, please destroy this home. Avenge me.
But yeah, you're right. They have the goblin enhancement. Which
is it goblin enhancement?
Goblin
like
enhancement.
Kind of portmanteau.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because I didn't realize until we get to the higher class enemies that are actually called goblins how scary that is in a Final Fantasy sense, when I saw that the little guys who were goblin enhanced were using a move called Goblin Punch, and I was like, oh my god, isn't that an enemy skill in a bunch of these games?
In Final Fantasy V, it's super necessary.
It's like, you need it in the speedrun, Curtis. So I saw that and I was like, no.
When I was playing it, I was like, oh, that's the speedrun move for FF5. Oh my god,
dude.
Yeah, dude, they're super fast. They are trying to speedrun us.
I can't imagine, like, this has very Killer Clowns from Outer Space energy of just like someone being like, these creatures wreaked devastation upon my home and stuff, and you're just like, they're fucking goofy as hell and just like slapstick comedy, but also horrifying in the context of like destroying everything you know and love.
These guys look like gremlins. I don't know why those other little things are called
gremlins. I know, like,
yeah.
Localization, you know.
Ain't that the way? But
Munchkin Maestro.
Yeah, they are. So basically, this enemy is right outside of a new area. Well, I mean, I don't know if you can call it an area. But before we get to that area,
wait, before we get to that,
oh, okay.
How many Munchkin Maestros did you guys have to fight in this fight? Because there's an important dynamic in this fight that you might
I only had
miss.
To fight one. Yeah.
So there's a move, and this is on this class of enemy, where if you're like, oh, okay, well, all I need to do, I'm going to focus on the big guy first. That sounds like a viable strat, right? Take down the guy who's enhancing the other ones and then take the smaller ones. It'll be much easier. If you kill the Maestro and there's still goblins left or munchkins left, they will do a move that's called like enhancement or something. Let me see if I can find out what it's called, where they will just level up and become a Maestro.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that happened to me. I don't even think I realized it when it was happening. I had like a little bit of like health to kill this guy with, and then he just like Pokemon like mega evolved. Yeah, Rise to Power.
Gosh.
Rise to Power is its name.
Yeah, that's a freaking Shadows of Mordor. Like someone has to like take the place of the king if you take him down.
Yeah. So super interesting, and you want to look out for that, because if you just keep going after the Maestro, then you might have to fight like 6 of them.
Holy crap. Well, speaking of enemies whose mouths look like toilets, I would like to use the toilet real quick.
Sure.
If that's all right.
Absolutely.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go take a Gran Pulse of my own. Nah. Nah.
On their way to the Munchkin, it's called the Pass of Padra, is what the area is called, which is branches off of the main Massif map, I guess.
Yeah. And yeah, this pass takes us to what looks like an area where there used to be like residential skyscrapers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like human-esque buildings. I think I compared it last time to like Soviet block apartments.
Oh yeah, brutalist.
Yeah, like brutalist apartments. Yeah, that's kind of what they remind me of in a big way. And there's like, there's what almost looks like clotheslines hanging between them, but they're like metal, and they have like like little wind flags kind of turning on these lines in between the building.
I think we saw some of those in the early cutscene as we were getting introduced.
We see this area when Vanille is giving her narration about Pulse at the beginning of this chapter, and we see the gang kind of wandering from place to place looking for people. This is one of the places they actually go.
Yeah, they've been here before. At least some of them have. But Fang and Vanille were back at the camp sleeping. There's a missable cutscene here. So I think I did mission 7 before mission 5 or something like that, and so I actually didn't get this cutscene. But I saw Carl stream it. But yeah, we come up and like Fang is like pointing out, like, yeah, this is weird. When we were young, we were always taught that someday we'd be attacked by the demons of Cocoon. And look at us now, waltzing into Erebor with the very people we were chosen to take arm against. And it's just like, isn't this strange? Like, we're all here together. Like,
yeah. Instead of being enemies, we're all together on this. Yeah.
Vanille's like, yeah, back then we would never help you guys. And she kind of like catches herself like, oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, it's like, wow.
Yeah, back then we never would have helped you guys. Oh.
Well, right. Back then is when you got your first focus, so...
Right. We already talked a bit about that, huh?
A little bit.
Must have been centuries ago now, when me and Fang joined the battle against Cocoon. During the fight, I became Ragnarok and cracked Cocoon's shell.
And then Vanille just drops some serious shit.
It's like, oh, I became Ragnarok. I'm like, what?
Very casually. Yeah, I was Ragnarok. I cracked Cocoon shell. Whatever.
Yeah, that was
no
me.
Big deal.
That thing that, that huge event that shaped all of your lives. Yeah, that was me.
I did that.
I said last time.
I suppose when everyone else is dead, you can just take credit for everything, right?
well, that will become important, sort of. But I was saying last time that like as soon as this chapter begins, like as soon as we like get to go run after Hope, technically the data log updates right then and is like, yeah, Vanille's Ragnarok. And I was like, oh, okay.
What? I did not see that.
Yeah, it just updates immediately and just says that. I was like, oh, all right, well, there you go.
That's her crazy dream, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's funny,
like Snow is like, that must have been real hard on you going through that. Like, as if it's just like, that's a normal thing that people like, oh man.
That's rough, buddy.
Yeah, that sucks.
And Fang is like disappointed because she's like, I didn't even really do anything and I don't remember anything. Like, you got to be Ragnarok and you remember it. That's dope. But yeah, she's just...
Cocoon's version of the War of Transgression must have been built on what you two did. It's so cool.
Yeah, that is wild, yeah.
And this kind of recontextualizes Vanille at Nautilus watching the whole display based on, basically around her, I guess, is what she's, the way she's seeing it, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what she's saying right now, yeah.
That must be how Hitler felt watching Looney Tunes when Bugs Bunny would hit him with a mallet.
But yeah, Vanille's like, oh, it's all my fault. So many people died because of me. And Lightning says, well, it's over. Those souls can rest. And that's the end of the scene. But that's not the end of this area because there is a Cie'th stone in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Where we are introduced not to a new mechanic, but kind of a subplot, I guess, of FF13. which is the Undying, right? So real FF12 heads will know when they see the word the Undying and be like, that was the final boss of the last game. Oh my gosh. So so basically this mission is mission 07, Betwittus the Pillager. And it explains that the Undying are fearsome Cie'th who defy the foul sea, driven by an intense loathing of all that lives. The Pillager, Betwittus, is of their number, and it is my fate to seal his. And I was like, oh, that's delicious. But yeah, it basically introduces us to the idea that there are these Cie'th called the Undying who haven't completely lost their minds. Like, they are crazy like a Cie'th. But their like immense hatred of the foul sea keeps them going. Like, they'll never become a Cie'th stone because they're just like, no, I am going to one day kill the foul sea. I have way too much
spite to let that happen.
Exactly.
It's like what, Vegeta learning how to Super Saiyan out of just fear frustration.
Yeah.
Just being like, man, fuck this like lowly Saiyan. I'm gonna do this shit.
But yeah, he's in the Acropolis, and I guess it's the Archaeopolis, isn't it? Well, whatever. It doesn't matter.
It's an opolis.
It's an opolis. And once we take the mission, the Cie'th, like, who are in this area, clear out. Like, it's almost like the game's like, cool. Oh, some shit's going down. Everybody get out of here.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes enemies change depending on what mission you have active.
Yeah. And in this case, having this mission active clears them out. Like, which I thought was very cool. I was like,
open this pit up.
Exactly. That's what I thought. I was like, oh, shit's getting ready to fucking go down. It's getting intense. Everybody get out of here. And yeah, Betwittus is near the entrance, near the place we came in, and we can go fight him.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like the other flying foul sea, or I'm sorry, the flying Cie'th, are very fast. And they can attack a lot.
Yeah.
But is susceptible to slow. So, you know. Fuck them, I guess.
Really cool design, too. Before the battle starts, we get a little cutscene of him, like, flying in and, like, spinning around and kind of causing a little bit of a tornado and, like, spreading his wings, and we get to see that, like, his chest just looks like the Open Eye brand.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's embraced it.
It's very cool.
Embrace that shit.
Yeah, this is where I finally switched my party up, too, because originally I was using Saz, but he buffs on his synergist, whereas Hope actually protects with his synergy. So Hope was definitely the better option because you're getting hit with like lightning nonstop, and you need that extra.
He has
magic
bar
protection.
thunder.
Yeah,
like Hope can give you the shell and bar thunder, and once both of those are up on you, Betwittus' attacks do hardly anything.
Yeah.
But before that, they're very
He starts
damaging.
out each battle with miasma, which is a real bad debuff for you because it does poison. I think it does slow, and can also like just make you more susceptible to take damage from magic and physical attacks.
This was one of the times, though, where I actually found that if I was playing lightning and he came up to me to use miasma and I hit my attack as soon as he came fully up to me, she would jump back just enough to avoid his miasma.
Oh, that's sick.
So I was kind of like using that every
timing.
once in a while to kind of avoid it. It's not like perfect, but I would avoid it every now and again.
Yeah, that's like a
pretty
speed
cool.
strat, basically.
Yeah.
But I got 5 stars. It took me about 3 minutes or so. So it was tough but easy at the same time.
I feel like Betwittus is an enemy in which if you manage everything,
exactly.
he's not too bad. Like if you're willing to like take a second to put up buffs, throw down some nerfs, then you'll be all right. But if you try to go in and kind of like win it toe to toe, it might be difficult.
And again, like how I played it, the first time I died a couple times, and then I was like, I'm getting hit with 11 bolt. Let me bring in somebody who could protect me against that. And then it went a lot easier. So sometimes it's just a matter of getting the right team.
Yeah, I think I had to switch up some equipment on this. I had to like level up my party a little bit in the Crystarium. And it still took me, like, I did get quite a few game overs, but once I kind of adjusted my strategy as well, I was able to take them down.
It reminds me of, like, speaking of the party changes, I was just thinking about when we fought Sid or whatever, and I lost, like, 4 or 5 times the Sid, and I was like, what an asshole, I hate this guy. And then I changed my party to Vanille and Fang and won the first time, no problem, and just smacked him down. I was like, okay. I guess that's how it works. But yeah, this is technically a dead end here. like you can't go past Padra, so we kind of have to double back after this. But
I think because the one we just enabled is a waystone, the one that for the Munchkins, I think is the Munchkin Maestro mission is a waystone, so we can actually teleport back to I think one of the earlier ones. I forget which ones are teleporting.
Importantly, Batuitus, when we actually beat him, he doesn't just go away too. Like every other enemy, right? Like Batuitus kind of flies away in a little small cutscene.
Yeah. And never to be seen again.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we'll never see them ever again, especially not for the last mission. And they like kind of turn into like a crystal chrysalis, I guess. Like a wormwood, right? Like turn into a butterfly kind of thing. A pod? Yeah, they encase themselves in a crystal pod. And there's nothing you can do to that pod. It just is sitting there for now. And so we kind of have to leave and go back.
Isn't it like surrounded by like multiple Cie'th stones? Like almost like encasing
the Cie'th stones wake up and then teleport away, I believe. So you have to find those Cie'th stones and kind of like do those missions to bring them back. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, when that happens, a little tutorial pops up that explains, the Undying are incredibly powerful Cie'th, and now they're out there, and you have to go fight them.
It's all your fault.
Get their Cie'th stones, yeah. It's all your fault.
Yeah, but we do get a very important spoil from this battle as well.
We do, yeah.
We get the R&D depot.
Okay.
Which is a store where you can buy one of the best level up items, which is the super compact reactor. And I think it costs like 50,000 gil. So I'm going to say you're going to be able to buy like maybe one if you're lucky. And check your experience trees because you don't want to waste this. It's going to give you a massive amount of EXP. But the way that I always did it was 36 sturdy bones will give you the 3 times multiplier. It's like apparently the cheapest way to get a 3 times multiplier. And then you just put the super compact reactor on it, and then that thing is starred out like no matter what.
Is it super or is it ultra?
I think there is an ultra compact reactor as well, but I think the R&D depot gives you the super compact reactor. I might be wrong, but
I'm just looking off of the fandom, but I do not remember. I think that they all these items also have a cool description where I think the reactor one is basically like a large hadron. Or no. I'm thinking the particle accelerator is basically like a large hadron collider, like in your pocket,
in the palm of your hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this also the store where you can buy the trapezohedron?
Yes. For 2 million gil.
Yeah. It's spency. So nothing else to really do in the Massif right now. And interestingly, so at this point, I also did some of the missions out of order because I didn't think it was immediately obvious where Mission 8 is. Mm-hmm. But Mission 8 is back at the base camp where the ship crashed. And we actually started our Gran Pulse adventure, right?
Yeah.
So
we actually have to go back to Valis Media base camp to find it.
Yeah, and I think if you just kind of follow the exclamation point, here's where the story is, like that'll take you kind of past where you need to be.
Yeah.
But then once you get that mission, you gotta backtrack again.
You gotta backtrack again.
And I feel like I've been up and down this hallway 8 times.
I know.
I think
luckily this hallway you can run past most things. They're dodgeable.
I think this was the point in the in my like streaming where I was just like, God, I wish there was a faster way to get around here other than just like, obviously you can teleport from some stones, but like if only there was some sort of bird that I could ride to get me places faster.
We're getting there.
Which I think led me to just being like, fuck it, I'm gonna look it up. How do I get a chocobo? Do I get a chocobo in this game? And I found it on GameFAQs, and that's where someone said like, did you even read the instruction manual? Which made me break out the instruction manual and find out that like, yes, this thing is just full of fucking spoilers where like it's just like, oh yeah, no, when you're on Gran Pulse you can ride a chocobo. Like here's the thing about that. Like I was like, damn,
here's the mission, here's the strats
everything
for it. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, this the enemy that we're hunting in Mission 8 is the Rakshasa, which is also a early
the rock lobster.
The rock lobster, which is also an early get in FF13 or 13.2 that's pretty good. So it's a nice little enemy to have on your team. But it's one of the bird enemies, or the demons, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Demons.
I don't remember having too much of a problem with them. I think I pretty much mopped the floor with them.
Yeah. The hardest part is the backtracking.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair. That's entirely fair. Anything else to say about that one? I'm good to move on.
After 8's done, this is where we hit some heavy ones.
Yeah.
Ooh, we get a good one. When I saw this one pop up, I was like, oh no. Oh gosh, oh golly.
I did at some point, like while running around here, get a cutscene that I don't know if we have to talk about now. I'm trying to remember like what it was, but they see the fal'Cie that we first encountered, just kind of floating by, and they have some conversations about it. And they're like, "Oh, let's follow."
It's the wind chime looking guy with the circle hat.
I believe that Curtis may have described it as anal beads.
Yeah. Definitely.
Or someone had.
And they basically say we got to follow that because that will take us to
Erba,
where,
right?
Yeah, Erba is.
Or Erba. That and we can also check the data logs and get the name of this fal'Cie, which is Dahaka. Mm-hmm. And it says that it's residing within Taesian's tower. This Gran Pulse fal'Cie soars through the sky with an ease that seems almost uncanny given the bulk of its form. Although the majority of fal'Cie of Gran Pulse dedicate themselves to terraforming or other tasks of environmental modification, Dahaka does nothing of the sort. Plausible conjecture as to the nature of the flying fal'Cie's duties include some manner of aerial monitoring or the search for something the heavens conceal.
And I want to actually put a pin in that specifically for an entire plot point that I didn't realize the first time I played this. Like, never even occurred to me until I like read through the wiki and like years have gone by. Multiple fal'Cie, as we get their descriptions, multiple of the Pulse fal'Cie specifically, in their description say it's almost like they're searching for something or looking for something. Like, what are they doing and why are they doing it? And that becomes a very important part of it that I didn't even notice multiple times through the game. I didn't even realize that they're all looking for something.
I love shit like that where I'm just like, oh, that's a cool, like, sort of evocative. But then when you describe it as like multiple ones are looking for something, I'm like, oh my God, I need to know more.
What are they looking for? Indeed. So just put a little pin in that for now, because I didn't even realize it. I'm still curious to see how it's gonna play in. You know what? You know what else? I cannot believe I haven't brought this up yet because I wrote it down in my notes. I can't remember what the first enemy that gives it to us is, but as we complete the missions, occasionally in our data logs, we have a new type of data log, which is called Analects.
Yeah.
Did you see those?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
We get them as we do missions. Like some missions will give us the Analects. And how would you describe them? They're like writings, like ancient writings from Pulse.
The first one that I got read very much like almost like a poetry sort of thing, like a
they're very poetic,
like lyric, not in like the song sense, but in like a lore written in a certain type of poetic way to describe something that it's not just like exposition; it's like very like flowery.
I'll give you one guess how many of these there are.
Is there 13? 69. Bam, bam, bam. But yeah, I'm very excited to read more of those. When I found those data logs, I was like, yes, dude, this is my shit.
What was the first one that we found?
The first one is after Mission 3, and it is Analect number 1.
The Vanished Gods.
Yep. And it as it kind of says, is about the beginning of Pulse and how God vanished. But it basically says that there was a god who forged the planet, and he created l'Cie, he created fal'Cie, and then he departed. Should we read the poem? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, just go ahead and read it.
All right, we're gonna read it because there's like also bits in there that I haven't translated myself yet as to what it's actually talking about. So maybe the listeners will get something out of it. But it says, "Luminous lamented, for creation spiraled unto doom, stout fashioned earth that future might take root. Sage turned mind's eye inward, seeking truth profound. The fool desired it not, and soon was made one with it. Maker forged l'Cie, and from fragment Maker's own, Maker forged man. From traces once divine, In time the gods departed, leaving all by their hands wrought, Fal'Cie as man forsaken, orphans of a maker absconded. So it's like very
so cool.
Very poetry, very like biblical.
Very Homer Simpson watching Twin Peaks. Brilliant. I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it definitely reminded me of being like a Catholic school kid who every now and then would have to do a reading at mass where I open up like the scripture and read a passage that's either like very straightforward and easy to read, or things being like, I have no fucking idea what any of these words mean.
Yeah. There's another one that we get for Mission 6, which is Analect number 5, called The Age of Fading Glory. And that one I don't really need to read. It's not a poem like that. But it's written by probably somebody else.
Lou Bega.
But yeah, it's like a very short account where it's basically like a little essay, and a guy's like, we on Pulse are fighting against Cocoon, but yet we fight ourselves all the time. If we don't come together, we're going to destroy ourselves before Cocoon even has the chance to do so.
Yeah, which is interesting, knowing the context that we have of like Vanille and Fang being like, oh, this place used to be like bumping, like where is everyone?
And it does mention a civilization, I think, called the Hyri, where it says, even Hyri at the height of its glory, laid to ruin by a menace greater still. Surely those vipers within that floating nest look down upon us with self-righteous scorn to see the decline of our once great civilization. So that gives us like a little context of what Pulse was like in the before times.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're on it, technically we haven't done Mission 10 yet. We're getting ready to talk about it here in a second. But I'll just go ahead and read that one real quick, or at least talk about it. Where was it? Here we go. Once we beat the next mission after the one we're getting ready to talk about, we get one called Hollow Hope, which I think is the first time we actually hear the name Lindsay in the game. And I've mentioned multiple times that like that's a thing. But it says that the Viper Lindsay, as they refer to it, created Cocoon. Like this was like a Fal'Cie or a god or something that created Cocoon from Gran Pulse for some purpose, who knows, right? And then it like tried to convince mankind to move into it and was like, hey, I've created paradise for you. You should live here instead of on Gran Pulse. And the author of this is like, oh, but these idiots who lived on Pulse in ages past, they were fooled by this serpent and moved up into Cocoon, and now they're our enemies. And they are not men, but slaves of the demon Lindsay. Which I think we know why, assuming that the current Pulse's purpose is the same as the old Pulse's purpose. It sounds like Lindsay is really the entity behind everything that has like put everything into motion, and probably like Bartandalus is just a part of getting it to happen.
I'm excited for the Analect, where we hear about the flip side of that, of, you know, this promise of paradise and everyone moving to there, and we get the perspective of those who stayed on Pulse, where they said, let me sleep on it, baby, let me sleep on it. Lindsay, let me sleep on it. I'll give you an answer in the morning.
But this is like what I was talking about, like way early in this season, where I was like, oh my god, it actually has like Dark Souls storytelling kind of thing, where like, if you didn't look at this stuff, like I never knew this. I never knew any of this. I played 13 before. And if you were like, hey, who created Cocoon? Who is Lindsay? I'd be like, man, I don't fucking know. Like that's not a plot point that happens in this game. And yet there it is right there, that there was this god or Fal'Cie or whatever that put all this into motion. Like the actual story of the world, you know, less about lightning and friends. They're just a small part of it, like a catalyst in the whole thing. But really everything is this plan by this Lindsay to destroy Cocoon and bring back the Maker, right?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Really fucking cool. Really cool.
Also, the word Analex has the word anal in it. Pretty great.
All right, which mission are we on then?
Heave ho.
Heave ho. Yeah, I don't think there's too much to talk about with the 11th hour. I think it becomes a waystone.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
But heave ho, our mark.
Oh boy.
Is a Kaiser behemoth.
Oh boy.
And just if you fought any behemoths, which by now you probably did, you know they have a move called Heave. So when you see the title Heave Ho, if you're like me, I was just like, oh shit, I don't like where this is going. I
also really like the text of the mission, where the the Cie'th stone that's describing it says, "So I have the choice of being gored to death beside that pond, or wander the wilds eternally as a damned Cie'th." Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, this is just great.
Well, this is just fantastic. This is what I was talking about. Like, the fallacy will just pick a person and be like, "Hey, go slay this impossible thing," and they're like, "You're kidding, right?" Like, there's no way to do that.
Give me some milk from the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but my show's gonna be on in 20 minutes, and I'm gonna be a crystal for 100 years. Somebody TiVo it, please. You remember TiVo?
Y'all remember TiVo?
Is he a falsy?
That's right. Yeah, we fight a behemoth, man. I once again got pretty lucky on this one. I think I actually preemptive struck him.
Nice.
He's beside the pond, and if you walk up to the pond and kind of like walk along the side of the water and turn around, you can get him from the back.
Yeah, I think basically there's nothing like too special about it. It's we fought behemoths before. We fought behemoths in this game where they transform. We fought like king behemoths or whatever. Now these are Kaiser behemoths. So
I think they're easier than the king ones. I think.
They got a move called Sunder where they just kind of hit one target. They slam down their sword, and it does a lot of damage. But
it just kills you. Then, like, depending on like if you're right in the path of Sunder, it can hit twice, which just kills you. It just kills you instantly. Yeah. Nothing you can do about it. So my strategy for fighting behemoths in this area is don't have them attack the person who you're playing as.
Yeah.
How do you do that? I don't know. You just fight them enough until they don't attack the person you're playing as.
Don't be Sentinel.
Yeah, Sentinel, yeah.
Or again, when I was playing the first time, like, don't have Hope be your party leader because you're going to game over every time.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, too, it's like Sunder is also a straight line attack out from the behemoth, like a vector attack. And if you're near or behind the Sentinel, it doesn't matter. Like, you're just going to get hit by it, too. So, like, just don't get hit by that easy.
That's one of those things, too, where it's like, now that I've, like, dug super far into the battle systems, I'm like, oh, how good would it be if I could do this? How good would it be if we could switch out characters like Final Fantasy X? How good would it be if we could change equipment during the battle? How good would it be if we could designate a zone for the Sentinel to be in so that we could have our team, like, be more... And then I'm just like, well, that would just make it so much more broken and easy to, like, just do whatever and, like, trivialize everything.
Yeah. What was you were playing something. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if like in Grand Theft Auto 5 you can like just have the other 3 players just be a separate team on the other part of the map, and you can just like anytime you want just swap between like, all right, the boys are gonna go on that side of the map and like do their shit, and I'm gonna hang out on this side of the map, and you just like switch between like anytime you wanted. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful here.
Or co-op.
But yeah, then we should we talk about mission 10 now? Hollow Hope.
Let's do it.
And the mark is the Ambling Bellows.
I think the Ambling Bellows is kind of cute.
Yeah.
He's an accordion man.
Yeah, he's
accordion
very goofy
man.
looking.
They could be
He's got kind of like a kingly face, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know what his face looks like. I just think his form is... He's got wheels for hands.
Oh yeah, like little like crank wheels.
It's fun.
Because like he waddles.
And he waddles. He's very stout.
It was in the chat. I was joking like, oh yeah, this is Weird Al's Eidolon. But yeah, he's related to the Pulse work, but he is just like a large like T-posing. Called bellows because he has like accordion arms, like with supposed to be filled with air.
I also like that like this creature, the Ambling Bellows, doesn't seem to have really done anything that bad, because according to like the Lassie who's giving you the mission or the Cie'th Stone, they're like, oh, war has claimed my family and my home. All I want to do now is get the release of a crystal sleep. And then when I wake up, the world might be a better place. And then as like a last line, yeah, I should probably go destroy the Ambling Bellows. Like, that guy's fine,
like, but putting that off for too long.
Yeah. He's fine.
It's like it accidentally slighted the Falsey, and then it's just like, okay, well, we got to send our best guys after you now. And it's like, this guy has this whole other story, and it's like the thing like, oh, for me, that was Tuesday. You know what I mean? It's the guy who has to kill this thing has no stakes in it. It's just like, oh, just got to do it, dude.
And it's like a machine, so it probably, like, it doesn't even realize that it's like done anything wrong or that people are coming after it. It's just waddling the plains.
So good.
It is kind of lost because we don't really see these enemies until we go to another area.
Actually, is this enemy behind the the good CP fight where we see one of those giant wolves and a behemoth king fighting each other?
Yeah.
It might be. It's around that area, which is a nice...
It's on that side of the map, yeah. It's
nice
mostly
fight.
kind of in the central, kind of northern, if we orient the map correctly, the central north kind of part of the map, kind of not far from the Valley of the Giants, as I've been calling it, but not too far from there.
Yeah. But yeah, there's an encounter there where there is a behemoth king and one of those like Ugalu type enemies that are fighting each other. So they both start with half HP, and if you attack them, you'll usually get a preemptive strike, and you can quickly take out that behemoth king, and then the Ugalu's not that tough.
As long as he doesn't transform.
Yeah, you can get the behemoth king before he transforms. Yeah. But
as long as you get him before he transforms.
The past 2 times that I tried doing it, I was just like barely too late and just was like, well, now I gotta fight this thing. But if it does fully transform, he's still fighting the other guy, so you don't really have to worry about it as much, and it becomes, more manageable than if you were just fighting a behemoth. And you get
it's more manageable with the exception that occasionally he will turn around and attack your party, and occasionally it will be Sunder, and occasionally it will be aiming at your party leader, and so you just lose, and you're like, come on!
You can get an easy preemptive on these guys, though, because they're so wrapped up in their fight. I found that if I just sit somewhere, sometimes they would even knock into me, and then I would get the preemptive.
Yeah.
How about the ambling bellows himself? That wasn't a very hard fight, right?
No.
I remembered having more trouble with them later on when it's not in a mission form, because I believe their ability is they can power up other mechanical things.
And they can call them to them later.
Yeah.
So in this, it's just kind of, he has no friends around here. He's out of his element, so... I think I did get a game over once, but it wasn't it was I don't know why. It was just the second time I did it, I got 5 stars. So I was like, oh, okay.
Well, let's smash through 11 because I want to hear Carl talk about 12. So
man.
the next one, Pride Before a Fall, we fight some Adroa like we've already fought, and they are on the Steppe this time. Don't let them call it Behemoth King, and it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
No big deal. And they are near a little path, like a little not a ford because it's not over the water, but like the beginning of a canyon, right? We kind of walk into it, and we go back, and we're introduced to another new mechanic, which is a Cie'th paling, which is an energy wall that's created by a nearby Cie'th stone, and so basically it gates our progress in that direction until we take care of the mission that Cie'th stone is going to give us.
Right.
Yeah, you need to place the Lord Vessel before you can get into Lost Izalith, basically.
That's right. And then we can actually finally teleport around. There is a Cie'th stone next to this paling, and Carl, would you like to take it away?
Sure. This is how is it pronounced? Gezeric the Profane.
Gezeric, yeah.
Gezeric the Profane, the Undying. So another one of these. Fearsome Cie'th who defy Fal'Cie will. Yada yada yada. My focus is his doom. He is said to lead a horde of Cie'th on the steppes' western benchland. To think you would become such a Cie'th, Gesteric, you, who could not harm a fly, whatever part of you lingers in that grotesque prison of crystal and flesh must suffer. I will set you free, my friend. So it's like a cool trope of the person that became this, undying Cie'th, was very kind-hearted, very loving and caring and stuff. So of course he's going to become this horrifying monster in his hellish afterlife. And this is the fight that I stubbornly, I got close enough on the first attempt with it to be oh, okay, I can make this work with this party. And then I spent 2 hours trying it over and over and over again and just dying and getting destroyed each time, to where basically my build made it so that if I got lucky, I could make it manageable. And if I didn't get lucky, then it was just try again. It was literally just waiting for RNG. I also want to point out that while I was doing this, Zwanzig was in my chat, and he said, I think I would also be struggling with this fight doing it the way that you're trying to do it. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking do it. And I finally did it. It was a very, very scary way to end it, because it was about to do a big attack that would have killed me, and I was able to take him down right before
That's
that
the thing, right? Is that he has a physical attack that does just a devastatingly large amount of HP.
Yeah, so this thing is just a big, like, trollish kind of undying Cie'th. It's got a big, like, hammer for a hand almost, and I guess when it gets to a certain threshold of HP that has been done to it, it'll use a move called Murderous Might that will add another target to the fight, which is its hand, and it'll do a devastation attack. I forget what it's called, and it will just do massive amounts of damage. So I had to like respec quite a few times here and change paradigms and kind of focus on like only doing attacks that would deal any kind of damage to him. And I needed to give I fully leveled up an accessory that gave a lot of protection to lightning, and it was just like a lot of trial and error of just resource management of my party.
You could target the hand?
Yeah, so not at the start of battle, which is kind of confusing. So I was like trying to do a thing where I was like, okay, I'll wait until it uses Murderous Might, then I'll use the Librascope so I can get all of the information on it and stuff. And like eventually I just got into enough of a rhythm to where I was like, I can juggle this motherfucker, and if I get lucky, I can juggle him enough times to take him down before he can kill me. So I think like the final count of this fight for me was like 200-1, but the one that I got, it was all that matters.
So I'm gonna tell you all about a little thing called Tri-Disaster.
Oh yeah.
Because I used Snow, Hope, Lightning for this, who all have Ravager. I spent my first turn, or I guess a couple turns, with Ravager and Commando for Lightning and Snow, and having Hope do like Bravery and Faith to get my attack power up. And then I went Tri-Disaster, and he staggers at like 160 or something. It's really low.
He's very easy to stagger.
Very easy to stagger.
Sort of. He's very easy to build the stagger bar on, but the reason that it becomes so difficult, you can't launch him if he's doing an animation, and that animation could just be him walking forward. So like I was saying, if you get lucky, you can have, like for me, it was Fang would run up and use launch, and if he wasn't in an animation, then I could kind of time it to keep just absolutely getting his stagger up to 999 and keep him in the air. But like on the last time when I finally beat him, I didn't hold the juggle. Like I like used a spell too early or something, so he fell to the ground. I think at that point he then killed Fang, and he only had a little bit of health. There was a couple of times where I had a sliver of health left and got killed in the last second. So I thought it was going to happen again. It was like 2 hours on this fight, and he's slowly just kind of walking towards me, getting ready to use the attack, and I was like, I don't have time to switch to a healing thing. I just need to go. And it was just like Vanille and Lightning ravaging him, and then finally killed him. And I was like, oh my god, thank God.
The good thing about the If you when some of your characters may have this skill now as a commando that allows them to do a critical hit the very last second on a launched enemy, that does just like a ton of fucking damage. And what I could do is, I think it's Smite. Is Smite that one? I don't remember.
Smite is one.
Decimate is maybe another one.
Yeah, but you smack him down, which causes a little recoil. And Gezeric staggers so quickly that if you do have Tri-Disaster, he'll stagger in one go round. So I would use Smite, switch, and before he could recover from his staggering animation, he would be staggered again. Like he hasn't even gotten one move. And then I just launched him again. And so I don't think he ever attacked me, ever. Like in the entire fight. I was just like, no, you're staying up there.
That's amazing. And another interesting thing about this fight is that like your location to him really matters, because he's got like area of effect things where he'll slam his fist down and like it hit Vanille and she was right there, so she's just dead. But the shockwaves also kind of hurt Fang and Lightning. But there were certain points where I would start the battle with Lightning and she would like run in and do something and he would just completely miss her. There were some fights where he would throw down his fist and it would miss everyone, and it's like, oh wow, man, like it like Alex always talks about how this game kind of feels more like you're a coach in like a Madden game or something, telling the players what to do and not actually doing it. And it's like, that's what it felt like with me, where I'm like, oh my god, if we could just have, make sure that Fang was drawing his aggro on another side of the field where we didn't have to worry about that. We could heal them up and everything.
Yeah.
But
he feels like a real boss, in this area.
Yeah. I love this fight because it definitely tickled the Dark Souls part of my brain, where I was just like, this is really hard and I could easily go and respec and do something different, but I want to see if I can make it work this way.
we should try. Not saying that you should do this way, and not saying we have to go all the way through it, but it might be fun later in the game because there will be a mission that's like, all right, kill an adamantoise. Just do one. Just whichever one. Just go kill one. And it would probably be fun to see if we can figure out how to do it without looking it up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I always kind of want to do that.
Oh, I know a strat.
That's the thing. There are strats, and I'm like, what if we
real?
didn't read one of the strats? Yeah, what if we killed it for real?
Or, and again, on the flip side, for anyone playing along at home, you could simply just look it up. If that's the way that, like, if you're playing games and you're like, I don't want to have to do this fight a million times for 2 hours and keep losing, that does nothing for me. Like, yes, you should just look up the strat and do it because you don't lose anything from it. You know what I mean?
So yeah, that takes down the paling that we were talking about for that Cie'th stone.
With the big red glowy wall.
The big red glowy wall, yeah. And we happen upon a very interesting location.
Yes. A cutscene with we see Saz walking through, and he immediately gets a whiff of something real strong, like woo, with like, but then immediately like becomes overjoyed because like, wait a second, I know this smell. And he charges in like, I knew it, and there's like we hear this really cool little like kind of big band jazz number kind of going on. Kind of grooving along. He's like, I knew it. And of course, we see some wild chocobos in this beautiful little like oasis.
And they look kind of different than the.
They got long, like Link to the Past.
They got Miku hair.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
They have those little feathery worm things that everyone loves. But as like, they have boas basically.
Yeah.
But I love this cutscene because he just. He says like, "Hey, you!" And then like he sees one chocobo get up, and then from behind him, like an entire like
a bunch of can girls or something like kicking their heads up.
I'm gonna call it like ballet dancer kind of number thing, where like all just kind of fan out, and there's like 10 of them at the same time, all like suddenly hiding behind this one. Is really silly.
It's a very silly scene. Yeah,
it's very cute.
There's some chocobo chicks there, and so the Saz's chocobo chick kind of goes over there and trips and falls in front of them, and they all like beep at each other. It's very cute.
I like that they're also a little bit bigger than our chocobo chick.
They look a little they look a little more rough too. They have a little darker. They look a little shaggier. They look angry. Yeah. But yeah, it's not this little tame. You'd think that they would. I don't know why they would breed the cool like sideburns off. I think that would be a cool thing to like go for if you're like a professional chocobo breeder,
a regular chocobo Billy.
You keep growing like that, you'll be bigger than me before long, won't you? Maybe it'd be best to just say goodbye here. Hey! Oh! Come on!
And then like Chocobo like takes like gets pissed off, just starts pecking at Saz, like hey,
flies up to him and does like a Dragon Ball Z move, like a little burst of energy, like shoots him with like magic on the nose or something, and knocks him back.
I mean, we know we can like stagger those Psycom soldiers no problem on the Palamacia.
Hey, he blew a hole in the wall.
Yeah,
that's true. Jeez, I was just kidding, like whatever. Yeah, but it's a cute shot where, like, up close to the camera, we see Chocobo Chick, and behind him, we see Cocoon, kind of almost like eclipsing, like the same size as Chocobo Chick. Like, yeah, I know. You're sticking with me till Dodge wakes up. Could be a long wait, though. No one knows.
And then there's a little, like, jump in time where it...
Yeah, Fang kind of sneaks up on him and startles him. He gets a little flustered, I think, because of how, like, vulnerable he's being.
Yeah, he's like, how long have you been there?
Watching me or something? Or something? Say something or something, and just kind of stumbling over.
Didn't want to interrupt. And, I didn't quite know where to begin.
And Saz kind of like reassures, like, oh, man, look, you don't have anything. You don't have to begin anywhere. What happened to Dodge wasn't your fault. Which I really like. The scene's kind of like mending their ties. Because
they haven't talked about this at all. This is the first. I remember being like, oh, nice. We don't really get to see too many interactions between Fang and Saz. And then I was like, oh, right. Like, that's a huge thing. Like, I completely forgot.
Yeah, it's nice that because this is an open world, like there's now more opportunity, and we have a little bit of reprieve, and we don't have we aren't kind of stuck in these like corded off like parties like, where Saz is stuck with Vanille and working on her story and and lightning and snow. But now we have this opportunity, but also I guess missable if you just kind of plowed and went straight for like the story beat. We don't even get this like amendment, which is Yeah, you've got enough weight on your shoulders already. It was my fault you're a day letting Saz out of my sight like that. That one's on me. And Fang's like, oh, you're going to deal with that on your own? Is that it? It's like, I don't have to. I got this guy. And like a little chocobo trick comes out of his afro again. It's really cute.
Yeah, it's really cute.
And you've got Vanille. You weren't alone. That kept you going, didn't it? He's like, listen to me. I'm trying to be all parenty. And Fang's like, don't give up. You're getting the hang of it. Which is really cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that begins our introduction to the chocobos, but I know we will be back here in a few missions.
Yeah. I think the next 2 or something like that, yeah.
It just still blows my mind that it's just completely missable.
Yeah, there's so many really heavy moments. Like, I mean, I'm glad they're here because like it feels like there's a lot of stuff they kind of like chopped out of the middle of the story to kind of keep things moving. But now that we're like slowing down, I guess they can kind of just stick them anywhere they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think
at the same time, it makes them seem kind of like bonus, even though they feel like very essential.
Yeah, and I think like later on too, if I understand correctly, some of the like story cutscenes that aren't skippable or something kind of assumes that you had these interactions and saw these things happen.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Curious to see how that goes.
Yeah, I actually I didn't do the chocobo missions until after mission 17, because I went looking for the next closest mission and I was like, 17, there we go. And so I like skipped a bunch of them and I was like, damn, do you ever get chocobos? Not realizing that 14 is the one that unlocks them.
Yeah, they start leading us, because the story missions lead us towards the mines or tunnels or whatever, which leads us away from like the central, step where most of the chocobo stuff happens. I'm not sure what the criteria is, like what stones unlock when, but there's a way to just completely bypass the whole chocobo, like unlocking, like you can just completely skip the profane.
You don't even have to do mission 1. Like, you don't have to do any of them.
That's true. You just like, screw this, I'm going home.
And the next thing. I did that the first time, and it's it's a huge mistake because you're also severely underleveled for the next section. So it's weird how they kind of expect you to do at least a couple missions, but then present it as optional. But if you're following along, you've done it the right way now.
Yeah, right.
It's funny too that this game opens up and is like an open world thing, but there still is kind of a hidden path that you should go down, like a very linear kind of path to get you prepared for the next story beat. Like you can totally just go for it, but the next area will we've spent hours just talking about these like 12 fights that we've done so far. It's been hours of gameplay time, so that's hours and hours of like leveling up that has prepared us for like the next part where it's much more bearable, I assume, because I've only done it this way, so I don't know, like going under there underleveled I'm sure is quite difficult.
Well, I guess that's where we're going to end that for today, is that right?
Yeah, this is pretty beefy, but I think there are 64 I think total missions, and I don't think we're going to go through all of them, but
at least not in this kind of detail.
You don't want to go through the mission you have to do 8 times in order to actually beat. There's
I know that a lot of them seem like they're more endgame type of stuff anyway, so I think there'll be opportunities to come back here.
There are some opportunities to come back, and there are some cutscenes too that are like basically joke cutscenes, but are some of my favorite from the whole game.
There are.
There are some areas in the steppe we still haven't talked about, and so I think next episode we'll probably finish up talking about the steppe and then go into the subterranean.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, because some of the missions, like actually I'm not sure if I recommended it or how essential they are, but the first 18, I think, missions are kind of all you need if you want to be able to like kind of speed around, because that gets you all the waypoints, I think.
Yeah.
On Pulse, so if you want to backtrack, it's much easier once you kind of.
For me, I was trying to
17 and 18, I think, are like the next 2 maps, I think.
And actually, I think like 19 to like 26 are like doors that open up in one of the areas. Like you have to do them to just get through the area. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, for me, I was just kind of like, I need to be able to have a chocobo. I looked up and saw that it was around like, mission like 14 or so, I was just like, I'm going for that. Like I will do everything else after that because I just want to be able to ride a chocobo.
And good news,
load them up at the greens and watch them
soon
go.
Next episode we'll all be able to ride chocobos.
I want to ride my chocobo.
Chocobo, I want to run.
Steven, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I've been enjoying this season so much, and I've been like hyping myself up for this moment because as soon as you announced Final Fantasy 13, I was pumped. I was ready to go.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'm glad we can have you on because I think when we last had the other Ditto folks on, you weren't even a part of Daycare Dittos yet.
I was not yet. I forced myself onto the podcast, and we
much like myself.
we're essential components.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, but that brings us to Daycare Dittos. We just finished our first season.
Generation, I guess, if you want to call it.
Generation season, whatever you want to call it. And just in time for the new game too. The
Scarlet and Violet coming out soon.
The day this releases, I think it comes out.
Yeah.
The Fuecoco game.
Yeah, I think it's this Friday. But either way, we are having a poll on our Instagram. So if you go to Daycare Dittos on Instagram, we just have like a short little poll where people can vote for like their favorite starters or which Pokemon they think are the coolest. We're just trying to get like kind of a community-driven list of the top 10 Pokemon. Or
it really felt like I'm filling out my like census papers.
How many people are in your household? Which Pokemon?
How many of them
marry?
like Clefcade?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
But yeah, if you come to our page and fill that out, we would absolutely love that. And you can find me and the rest of the Daycare Dittos through that Instagram. That's where we post most of our stuff. So
good pod friends. I mean, in fact, we've recently added a Daycare Dittos channel to our Discord.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think it's funny timing because I was thinking about how you guys don't have a Discord, and a lot of people in our Discord are always talking about it, obviously, because we're so closely related as, just friends and podcasts.
And we advertise nonstop.
So I was just like, fuck it. I just was one day I just created it and then I messaged Dave. I'm like, hey, I did this without permission, so let me know if you want me to get rid of it or whatever. But yeah, like we're your unofficial Discord server if you want. And Dave was like, oh yeah, no, that sounds good. Because I mean, like, obviously, like, you guys do so much. So I feel like throwing on top of that, having to manage a Discord server is, a whole other thing. So I was just like, well,
yeah, we'll just to let Alex do it I do.
I just want to talk about Daycare Dittos on a Discord. So I was like, I'm taking it upon myself to do this. I think Alex had the same idea. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'll ask Dave about it. And then I was like, I forgot to ask Dave at the wedding.
I forgot to ask Dave about it.
I forgot to go up to Dave at his wedding and ask him if I could create a Discord channel in my Discord for his podcast.
It was like, what? We're all family here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll have to find a reason to get Sarah on soon.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll find a reason.
Maybe she can play Mystery Dungeon with us or something.
Oh, hell yeah.
What's that new game? I was just texting Carl about it too, like Orphan of
Stranger of Paradise.
Stranger of Paradise. Man, though, that game looks insane. We should have Sarah play that.
I gotta play that. Yeah,
we're joking that we should play it like because there is co-op on it, and we could each be because there's a 3-player co-op mode.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
It's a kind of sleeper prequel to 1, which we have already covered.
Well, and they actually, I was watching a speed run of it, and every area is based off of a different Final Fantasy. So they had a Final Fantasy 13 area, and it's the section where you pop the bubbles, so it changes from daytime to rainy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
a device that makes the weather bad. Great.
Thanks, God. But that's all from us. So
awesome. Thank you so much for we bumped into each other in the at the wedding, and I was like, you need to come.
And I spent far too much time talking about how horny Vanille is.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I'm saying yeah in terms of yes, you're correct about Vanille, not yeah. I just spent too much time talking about it.
I know you're not there yet, but when the Eidolon comes, please use it at least once and tell me what you think.
Oh, I'm very excited.
I'm going to say, Steve, that toast you gave Eth was really went on and on. But we'll probably talk about that within the next few episodes. And if you have any thoughts, you're welcome to come back anytime or leave us a message.
Yeah, I'll call the number.
I guess that'll do it for now, and we can come back for missions next week.
I am looking...
Get bowed up.
I'm looking through... the walkthrough right now, the one that we watch sometimes while we're doing the podcast, and I'm just remembering how the next chapter starts, and oh boy, all right, can't wait for that.
I know nothing.
Do y'all like F1 racing? Anyway,
hell yeah.
What?
It goes some places. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Saz got the Mario Kart car, so of course.
That's true. He's got his like Technics car from fucking Lego.
All right. Well, Alex,
do you want to become a creature fueled only by spite to
there we go.
to defy the will of God?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you, Masashiyama Uzu, especially for this chapter. The overworld music is lovely.
It's so good.
Some, like,
the Cie'th music,
the Steppe music is like, I don't know, like it reminds me of like it has like the penny whistle like thing from the Shire in it, but like but it's like the version of the Promise from this game. It's quite good.
Concerning Lassie.
Be sure to leave us a rating and review us on iTunes and Spotify or wherever you're listening to us right now.
Also, leave a rating for Daycare Dittos and give it 5 stars, because that is
absolutely
one of the best podcasts of all time.
I was feeling podcast hungry after starting this one. I was like, what if we started one on Pokemon? That'd be really funny. Do every Pokemon. And thankfully, someone else had to do it. So I didn't feel compelled to. So thank you for saving me from myself. You can call us or text us at 530-MATERIA. You can find us at EveryFNFF on Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, and hop in our Discord and talk about Daycare Dittos there. And sometimes even the podcasts that everyone in the whole world think is true turn out to be lies. At the end of the day, though, it's not the lie that matters. It's what you podcast after you tell it.
Goodbye.
Bye.